Welcome, 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 ladies, gentlemen, children of all ages, cats and dogs, and everything in between. Welcome to our pizza webinar collab, Slow Rise and Friends. It's me, Justin Clark Dre, that pizza frequency. I'm vibrating at that pizza frequency, and I have a seeking suspicion that if you are here to hang out with a bunch of dough dorks and pizza geeks, then you are also resonating at said pizza frequency. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I'm Justin Dre. I'm very excited, guys. I gotta tell you something. I really like these little free web Zoominars or whatever we call them because, you know, this gets us a little chance to kind of take some Q&As. You don't have to pay for the class. We get to talk about what's going on, and we get to highlight some prominent people that we have a bunch of respect for, that we have learned a bunch of things for, that we appreciate working together on the pizzas, on the doji doughs, on the breads, the foundado. That's what we talk about in classes, guys. We talk about the foundado, and that's foundation, right? That's like anything in life. You know, whether it be pizza or relationships, or I'm an actor, acting or writing or any of those things, or my orchids. If you have a good, solid foundation, if you take the time to nurture the dozy dough, right? It's going to give back to you. Your children are not your own, ladies and gents. Love the dough, and that dough will love you back. Because if you speed the process, if you don't take the notes down, guys, I'm going to tell you, you're going to have a cracked foundation, right? And you can put buffalo this, and you can put shaved truffalinis on top of it. It's not going to be that good. Work on that foundation, guys. Get the technique down, because we've said over and over and over as I scratch my nose, a recipe does not a pizza pie make. That's more to do with the technique, the application of said technique, and writing notes, taking notes, because if you make the best pizza that you have ever made in your entire lifetimes, and I'm talking plural lifetimes, this could have been before, this could be after, you know, this was before I was born, and after I die, I made the best pizza. Thank goodness that I took the notes, because I want to recreate that, because I want to break bread with people that I give a shit about. Pizza is literally made to be shared. And in today's crazy times, we're not getting into the politics of pineapple and pepperoni, people. Me personally, I'm an equal opportunity offender. Doesn't matter what type, doesn't matter what you want to top, just as long as it's pizza pie and we're going to share. So guys, it's me. I'm always thinking about that thin crust, getting dirty on that deep dish in that Detroit, getting randy for that Roman, going gaga for that grandma, and I am going bonkers for that bar pie. So welcome, welcome, welcome. I'm going to bring them on, and we're going to talk about who we have on our Zoom webinar today, and I'm really looking forward to it. And guys, here's the dealio. Let me just say, if you have questions, please feel free to hit me up in the Q&A for these the Zoom webinars. We like to do the Q&A, and we encourage all the other pizza geeks, excuse me, and pardon me, having that cafe in the morning. Should have had a bloody buddy. Not today. Gotta take it easy, psych. Guys, in the chat, if you're a pizza geek and you have other pizza geeks and dough dorks out there that are chit-chatting and asking questions, please feel free. This is a community. Help a brother or a sister or a cat or a dog or a children of all age out. If you have an answer, please, let's share some insight, guys. The only way that we're going to learn is if we burn that pie. So said Chris Bianco. So without any further ado, I'm going to bring him on, guys. I know you're saying, no, Justin, come on, keep talking. You're so handsome. We love the background. I just wallpapered it, guys. You know, remember, you know, schnozberries taste like schnozberries? Well, today it's pepperoni and cheese tastes like pepperoni and cheese. We are the dreamers. Well, I said it wrong. We're the music makers, and we are the dreamers of dreams. Ladies and gentlemen, without any further ado, the Blue Bell of Pizza-ness, Mr. Slow Rise himself, no Slow Rise Pizza, Brohner.
Justin, will you not ring that bell on the weekend, please? Jesus.
I heard somebody was up late last night partaking.
I mean, yeah, that would be me. I was hanging out, having a little fun.
No shame in that game. I love things like fun.
You know what? I'm old now. I don't think my idea of fun is everybody else's idea of fun.
I don't think your idea of fun was anybody's idea. You know, like what do you just like? You're like make pizza for like 100 years. But come
all
on.
good, all good, all good. Justin, nice to see you this morning. How
It's
are you?
seen. Thank you very much.
Where are you, by the way? I never know because you have those virtual backgrounds. You could be anywhere.
This is a real. I just redid my wallpaper. I'm in Venice Beach, California, about 2 miles from you. As the crow.
How do you know? Oh, I don't have my virtual background on, so you know exactly where I am. I'm in Santa Monica.
I recognize Dose refrigerators, so I know exactly where you are. Look at this guy trying to show off with his 2 refrigs.
Yep, Craigslist, $99 each. That one only cost $89, just so you know.
Like Craigslist is such a dinosaur of where we are right now. Like now you got Facebook, you got Let Go, you got all this stuff. My joke is, we've been spending so much time on these Zooms. Whatever happened to Skype?
I know, that was a good one. You used that the other day. I like that.
I know, but like, where did Skype go? Like it was big for a while. I don't know. Boy.
I don't even know if that's a joke, people. That's just a thought-provoking question.
That's what I get often. Not only am I funny, but very thought-provoking.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. All right, so let's do this. I know there's some questions that are coming up, so that's good. You can throw those up to me if you see them. I just want to go over the upcoming schedule with people, let people know what we're up to today and upcoming. I've been really busy, so I have not been able to update my calendar, so that's what I'm going to do today and tomorrow.
Copy.
So right now, here's what we've got. We've been doing lots of these free webinars. Adam Kuban from Margos is going to be joining us on Saturday the 17th.
Looking forward to that.
That's going to be fun. So Adam was on with his daughter, which is awesome.
Margos.
We're going to be doing an intermediate 2.0 class with those guys. And Adam is going to be taking our toppings to the next level. He's going to give us a virtual tour of New York's historic, slice shops and pizzerias. And we're really going to do a cutting edge comparison of how to apply sauce and cheese.
Yeah, I love that kind of stuff. Where are you a sauce underneath? Are you a cheese on top, or vice versa? Yeah, I mean, I smell a little tribute in there. We're going to be doing that, like a virtual tour and making some replica pies of some famous New York pizza spots. So I'm going to fast. No, I'm not. Fast.
So let's see what else. Also on that 2.0 day, I think I saw a question about this come up. We're going to start using sourdough starters in place of all of our yeasted doughs, because I know a lot of people want to get to that next level. So we're going to be doing that with Adam's class on Saturday the 17th.
Well, we had a great advanced part 2, last weekend?
Yeah.
And we focused on a starter of the BGA. So that was a lot of fun.
Don't call a Biga a starter, because Michele is he's gonna zoom back onto this thing and correct you.
But it is, and that's.
But it is. He's not here. You can say whatever you want. Today, Justin, a starter is a. How do you say it?
A biga.
Hey, what in what language is biga? Biga.
Biga. Yeah.
Okay, Justin, it's Saturday. You can say whatever you want. That's all right, guys. So Sunday the 18th, we're bringing on Miss Kelly Bone.
Hey, Beezy. I love
Bone.
I love some Kelly Bone. Not only is she making awesome pizza crust,
right,
playing the game, but what she's doing vegan toppings. And what she's doing is she's doing a lot of tribute kind of ideas too. She's like, I love this pizza here. How do we make it vegan accessible? How do we do that? What kind of cheeses? What kind of nuts? What are we doing? So I'm really excited about that. Now, I'm not vegan, but hey, guess what? Like I said, I'm an equal opportunity pizza topping offender. So bring it on. Put it in me.
You are definitely that. So Kelly has been secretly preparing for this class. She's real nervous because she's mostly a behind the scenes kind of person, like I used to be. And so she's been sending me all these pictures of all these pizzas she's been working on in her kitchen, and they look professional. They're amazing.
I know. I think she's a sleeper. She's like, she plays coy, like, oh, I don't know what I'm doing and stuff like that. Baloney.
Yeah.
Beluga.
So I'm going to get her class up soon, too. We're going to dial in. We're going to do a sourdough pizza with her. She likes the central milling ABC flour and the type 85. So we're going to build a recipe around that for people who want to make dough in advance.
I know a lot of people. Yeah, I know a lot of people love that central milling, the standard.
Absolutely. Who doesn't? Who doesn't, I ask you?
People that don't know what might be in the pizza game.
Yeah. So that's going to be good. So all of these are going to be part 2 classes. The difference between the part 2 and the part 1, Justin, in case you've forgotten after doing 60, is that in the part 1 classes, we only make dough, and in the part 2 classes, we also make pizza. But heretofore, if I'm using that term correctly, only the beginner class has had a part 2.
No,
all the intermediates and advanced, only part 1, because we've been focusing. How long did it take? First, it took us a couple of weeks to get the intermediate dialed in, maybe a month.
You're not telling the truth, though, because we did
What?
We did an advanced part 2.
Oh, yeah. That one, I don't know if that counts. That was our first one. We popped a cherry on that one, Justin. I don't know if that counts.
One that still counts as one. So.
Fine. It was our first one. We went over the 4-hour mark by an hour and 2 minutes. Come on, what is going on?
Nature of the bee's knees, so to speak.
Jesus Christ, that's an epic with a capital EPIC.
It's a great class. It's a beautiful class.
Yeah. So Kelly's is going to be Sunday the 18th. The following weekend is going to be Jersey Boys. I'm excited about all this stuff. So this is going to be Saturday the 24th is going to be Dan Richer from Pizzeria. How do you pronounce it, Justin?
I have no idea.
Well, apparently Katie Parla says Razza because that's the Italian way. And Dan Richer, who's a nice Jewish boy from New Jersey, he might just say Razza.
Yeah. But once again, guys, we're not getting into the politicking of the pizza pies. It's not our stance.
Mm-hmm.
You say tomato, I say potato.
I can't get a recipe out of Dan. You know why? Because that guy is so crazy for dough. He's got dough on the brain even more than me. He has like 5 recipes in rotation on any given day.
What I love the most about Dan, it was just his attention to detail in the idea that he didn't want to waste anything. So if he's got sourdough discards, he's making bread out of that. And then if he's got milk fat solids, he was putting the
meatballs
solids into his meat. He's drying it out and then using that in his meatballs or the breadcrumbs and this and that. So I love that reduce, reuse, recycle mentality, and basically in control of all your ingredients just rises, at the level of what you're putting out to people, and it shows in his sales.
Yeah, it shows, period. I've been there twice. His pizza, his meatballs, his bread, his butter, everything is amazing.
Yeah.
So that's going to be Saturday the 24th. I gotta get with Dan. We got to get that up on the calendar as well. And then Sunday the 25th is going to be Attilio from Ava's in New Jersey. I believe it's Central Jersey. Is that what he said?
It's been a long time since last week.
Been a week.
So a lot of CLs. So I don't know. I don't remember.
I believe he's in. I think he's Newark adjacent. Not far from the airport.
But I love, once again, he's coming in. He has such a background in baking, started in the bagel game, but then he really decided, okay, there is science, there is homework in this. Source your materials, get quality stuff, and do the homework that you need to do. It's like you and I talk about. What is that make to bake schedule? When is the optimum time to feed the pizza to the people? When is the best time to break bread? Let's work backwards from that. Let's figure out what it means. Let's keep our flour at this temperature. Let's keep our water at this temperature during the summer. However, it's going to be this temperature during the winter. All those things. I love it. I love it.
If you love it, I love it. Let's love it together.
I love the fact that we love it together.
Perfect. So, Justin, here's my question for you. Are there any questions in the chat? Because before Chester comes on in about 16 minutes, I want to get to a few questions, make sure we get them all answered.
A few questions, but why don't you tell people who we're going to have this afternoon?
Nobody knows?
Oh, no, I was waiting for you because of these funky names. I can't say any of these.
I'll just use first names because some of these last names are pretty. We'll let people say them themselves.
What are we doing today? We only have a few questions in the chat, guys. We are going to get to those. Hit me up in the Q&A if you do have questions. I'm going to be on and off all day today. So if you do have a burning question for any of our panelists, please hit me up in the Q&A, and I'll either pop back on or I'll softball it over to Noel so we can get those questions answered. However, ladies and gents, like I said, if you're going into a deep dive about what temperature and what this and what that, we are going to say, please come back and join us in one of the classes if it's getting a little heady. All righty? Noel, what are we doing today?
All right. So I guess today we're doing this morning until 10:30. We're going to do a little Q&A, a little chit chat, bringing people up to date who don't know what's going on. So we're working on that right now. I got Chester hopefully waiting in the wings in his apartment in Beverly Hills. Chester Hastings and I met a couple of years ago. I had been familiar with his work, but I had never met the man. We were introduced by Chad Colby, who now has the restaurant Antico, to do a little focaccia project. But at the time, Chad was gearing up to open Antico, and he invited me over to his house to meet this guy, this focaccia guy who had written a book on cheese, maybe 2 books on cheese. Anyway, so I went over there and we hit it off, and he was making all this focaccia by hand, and he was super knowledgeable, and we bonded over Bonchi, and so we ended up doing a couple of pop-ups together. I did one with Chad in Culver City, underneath the metro in an empty lot. We're gonna try to get Chad on at some point too, but that and then he and Chester and I did a pop-up for 3 months. At a big urban food hall downtown called The Fields, and inside scoop, we were not even supposed to be in the lineup. They had all these incredible food stalls, and somebody backed out at the last minute, so they asked Chad if he would consider coming in there and doing like some kind of project, pizza or something, focaccia. And so he came up with his harebrained scheme. Let's get Noel and Chester and me together, and we'll knock it out of the park. And we did. We ended up doing like a we ended up scaling up Chester's. I call it a no-no recipe because it's one of these quick breads that your grandma might have made if you had an Italian grandma. And you make it in the morning, and 2-3 hours later, it's focaccia. And Chester was making these beautiful breads by hand, and we had to scale it up times 1,000. Instead of making 2 loaves, we'd have to make 2,000 loaves. So that's kind of where I came in. I took his recipe and worked with him and Chad. And we ended up working together for 3 or 4 months on site every morning, me and Chester, showing up with bleary eyes, running this crazy stand in this food hall. So we became friends, and I've been trying to get him on Zoom for the longest time. I've been calling him, I've been texting him, I've been DMing him. He's a very busy guy. He's writing another book. He's working on a movie deal. He's got a TV show in the works. So I'm super happy that finally that he is committed to at least come on for a little Q&A, and then we're going to get him on the books. Great. It's actually a really hard time to get people on the books because we've got Halloween coming up, and then nobody wants to commit on Halloween weekend.
Well, we got a little secret that we'll talk about at the end.
We'll talk about that later. Also, we got we got the election coming up. Nobody knows what's going to happen, so I don't think too many people want to commit to anything after November 2nd, right?
I haven't heard
November
about
3rd. Who knows?
So who else is after Chester? Who else is hanging out with us today?
Well, Claudio is going to be after Chester. So Claudio is the man. Chester, of course, is the man, but Claudio is the man. So, Chester's from like, Northern California, but Claudio is from I believe he's from Campania, which is a beautiful region in Italy. Beautiful wines, beautiful pizzas, breads. I think he grew up in the business. Like, I think his dad was a flour salesman, and his uncle had a mill, and I think that mill was built maybe in the 19th century. And so he literally grew up in the flour business, making bread, harvesting hazelnuts on the farm, and he moved to the U.S. and I think he's in Phoenix, Arizona. I know that Chris Bianco is a big fan of his. I always see those guys doing crosstalk on Instagram. And I think he bought an old house in Phoenix, turned it into a restaurant with a wood-fired grill and a wood-fired oven. So he's the wood-fired chef. He's done some serious work. He's worked for some of the most famous bakeries in California. He's worked for some of the very serious restaurants and hotels starting up, but now he's gone away from that and he's doing super rustic cuisine that's kind of true to his heart. So he came and took our advanced class. He was referred to me by a baker that I know who's like a world-class baker. And he said, a buddy of mine's going to take your class. And I was like, oh, no. Sometimes when these big guys take my class, I get a little nervous because who am I to teach them, right? But he really got down with the hyper mix. and he started texting me photos of bread that he was doing that was better than before, and he was super happy. So we became fast friends just by texting and exchanging photos. And when we started doing this second generation of classes, I said, "Hey, Claudio, would you ever consider doing a class?" And he said, "Well, what would I do a class about?" And then he listed like 8 things that he would think about doing, and I was like, "Well, how about any of those 8 things? They all sound good. Wait, I can't write fast enough."
Dealer's choice. Dealer's choice. And then we have Stefano.
Yeah. What's his last name?
Stefano Tulipano.
What's his last name, Justin?
No. You got me one.
I got you once.
You know,
I don't know his last name. I think it's Tulipano. You threw an extra I in there. Tulipanio. I like Tulipanio.
So what are we going to do with Stefano?
So Stefano, I met in Chicago last year. I was working for a couple of restaurants in the Let Us Entertain You family of restaurants. And
that's a restaurant conglomerate, yes?
It's a what?
It's a restaurant conglomerate.
Yeah,
yes,
you could call it that. It's still family run and owned, so I wouldn't really call it a conglomerate because it's a family. It's a big family business. There's a lot. It was one of the best experiences that I had last year because it was run so well, so efficiently. I've never seen anything like it. One of the restaurants that I was doing R&D in, they were doing routinely 800 covers on a Tuesday night, and I was in there on a Tuesday, and the dining room was full, and it was so busy, and the kitchen was just humming along, not crazy, nobody's throwing pots or pans or screaming. Never saw anything like it. But
I love that. Zen in the art of execution, huh?
Oh my God, it was incredible. And then Stefano was the baker for I think 8 restaurants. Whoa. And he was upstairs in an Italian castle with a team of just 4 guys and gals doing bread and pastry, and they were just pumping out this super high quality artisan bread and pastry. So I worked there on a couple of projects for a week, and I became friends with Stefano. And when I started doing this, I started saying, Stefano, you got to come and do a class. And Stefano first was super busy with what was going on there. Then he and his wife went back to Genoa, where he was from, to hang out with the family. So now they're back in Chicago this weekend to do a few things. But I actually think he's moving back to Italy. So probably we've got him today. We're going to talk to him a little bit. We're going to do some advanced sourdough work and pre-ferment work. His ciabatta is incredible. His baguettes are incredible. His pizza bianca is incredible. His idea of fermentation is very modern compared to some of the other Italians I've worked with. And by that, no offense to any of the Italians I've worked with, but you know what I notice about people in general? Some people are stuck on old ideas, and that's great because they bring the tradition and they keep it alive. And Stefano, he's been doing it for so long, since he was like 14, I think. He understands the tradition, but I don't want to say he's an innovator. I'll let him speak for himself, but he's really open to new ideas. A lot of those Italian guys, I'll give you an example of a new idea. A lot of those Italian guys are doing new stuff with fermentation. And so they're not just making pouliches and bigas and pat fermentes and levans. They're trying to ferment with, like fruit water, for instance, right? And instead of using, to me, that's something new, right? A lot of my friends who are brewers are using fruit for fermentation, but you don't really see it that much in bakers, right? But a lot of these Italian guys are doing some really interesting stuff. I always bring up Rafael Bonetta, right? He's doing some beautiful, what I call Neapolitan 2.0. Down in Naples. So I think Stefano is a 2.0 baker, and I think he's going to go back to Italy and open up his own place. So I wanted to get him in here with us before he went back to Italy so we could chat and we could do a little. His mind is hard to get into because he works fast.
Yeah,
he's fast and furious. Actually, he's a little bit of a joker like you, Justin. I think you guys are going to get along just fine.
Well, I cannot wait. Hey, Noel, when you going back and forth?
The autofocus is getting you.
Yeah. So I'm going to swallow my tongue over here. All right, guys. So that's what we're going to do today. With the last couple minutes here before 10:30, I want to pitch you some questions, dog. Wonder Worldwide is saying, can I substitute sourdough starter for yeast? The answer is you betcha. No?
Yeah, of course you can. So we do this in all of our classes. Everybody always asks this question. So the one thing that we tend to focus on are the ratios. or the one thing is the ratios. Is or are, Justin? I'll have to work on that.
I have no
The
idea.
one thing we tend to focus on is the ratios. The one thing we tend to focus on are the ratios. I'm going to stick with is. Is the ratios. Sounds wrong. The one thing. So for instance, off the top of my head, if you have 10 grams of fresh yeast and you want to convert that to something, I would say about 3 to 4 grams of instant dry yeast. I would say between 3 and 3.3 grams of active dry yeast.
Wait, 0.3 or 3.3? 3.3? Oh, 10 grams.
No. Yeah, for 10 grams of fresh yeast. So 3 to 4 grams of instant dry, 3 to 3.3 grams of active dry. And then what do you think? What about sourdough starter, Justin? What do you think?
What do I think about sourdough starter?
No, I mean, so what ratio do you like? Oh, I didn't even bring you the sourdough starter yet. It's not fair for me to ask you. I got to bring you a sourdough starter this week.
I always multiply it like times 100, right?
Yeah, so let's say we take 3 grams of instant dry and we multiply it times 100. It might be 4 grams depending on if you're using warm water or cool water. I like to go probably 400 grams for cold water and 300 grams for warm water. Put it that way.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Depending. So those are the basic ratios, but it really depends on how active your active dry yeast is or how active your starter is.
Yeah, and what your feeding schedule is for your starter. If it's really ready to party, then you might not need as, like Noel's saying, the warm water, the cold water. It's going to depend. One size does not fit all, but the answer is yes. You can use sourdough starter instead of commercial yeast, for sure. Dan wants to know, is there an app or a worksheet to help calculate the desired dough temperatures? He's trying to raise his game.
Interesting.
Danny?
I have not seen an app. I know that King Arthur has a worksheet on their website that you can use. The thing about DDT and friction factor and all that is that it all kind of works the same, but every single website you go to, they have a different way of calculating it, but hopefully it'll get you to pretty much the same place.
We have a formula that we use in our the intermediate part 1 class. We actually spend about an hour plus usually going over that with everybody. But the reality is that the way to get the variables in the equation is to keep making pizza. So for us to say, well, this is how you get it, it's not going to really work for you, because every time you do a mix, if you scale up your percentages of flour and water and stuff like that, and you do it on a different mixer, and it's a little bit temperature difference in your kitchen or wherever, and your flour is a little lower temperature, it's always going to be a little bit different. So the idea is that just keep taking notes. There is a formula that we like to use, Dan. I'll throw it to you, but remember, you got to keep making. You got to take your dough temperatures down, your room temp, your flour temp, your water temp, and then you got to guesstimate what the friction factor is, right, for that first bake. And then after you get that bake, once it comes out, your DDT, then you can figure out what your actual friction factor is, and you can start applying that to the formula. So it's a little funky in there. Come on back and join us in the intermediate part 1 class. We'll do a deep dive on it, but I'll send it to you. Wonder Worldwide is saying, will this pizza dough work for focaccia too? We're not making pizza dough today. We're just going to be talking pizza dough. But yeah, Chester loves making focaccia. I think a lot of these guys with sourdough, ancient grains, high hydration, you can work that into focaccia. Yeah? No? Anything?
I mean, all good. You know what's so funny is that everybody you ask and you say, can I use this for that or that for this? You get such a range of answers. Like Michele, we were asking him, Michele, can we use a focaccia recipe for ciabatta? Can we use a pizza bianca recipe for focaccia? And he would say no, right? But like, for instance, and he's right. He's right, because there is a very different recipe and process for each of these things. And the reason that everything is not just called focaccia, right, is that focaccia is one thing in one region, and then 20 minutes down the road, it's another thing. So we're lucky that in the United States, we can call anything we want ciabatta, right? Burger King has a ciabatta burger. By some definitions, that may not be traditional ciabatta, but if you ask Burger King, they're like, what do you mean? It's ciabatta. Ask the guy in the funny suit on the commercial, right?
I hear you. Well, guys, We've got a few more questions here, but it is 10:30. So I'm thinking that we should jump on over, bring in Chester.
Oh my God. Let's see if he can do it.
I'm going to bring him.
See if he can do it.
Blue Bellum. Chester.
Yes.
Go. Hello,
Mr. Hastings.
How you doing, Noel? How you doing, Justin?
Doing well. Thank you for asking.
Where are you right now, sir?
I'm at home. I'm here in Beverly Hills and just excited to be here.
How nice it must be.
Yeah, it's all right. It's all right.
So, what are we going to talk about today, Chester?
I guess I actually love your segue. I think focaccia is definitely the topic to discuss, and I think I will just go right into the fact that you can call anything these days, and I mean, this is a pizza forum, so I may get into some trouble here a little bit, but technically you could say that pizza is actually focaccia.
Let's start with that. I like that. Now hold on.
Fights here.
Hold on. I don't want to start any fights even amongst you and I, but I think we would actually agree here. But tell me where you're going with this. I'll stop interrupting.
I've been working on a book about focaccia, and not just the many different creative things you can do with it, but obviously the origins of it, which are very important to me, and the traditions and the histories and the regional differentiations. And the word focaccia comes from the Latin word panis focus, or bread from the fire, bread from the hearth. So technically, it's just a hearth bread, or a bread that's made on or near a fire. That pretty much, stands for pizza. And that terminology was well in use before the word pizza arrived. And then there's a whole sort of discussion about where that originated. But technically, in terms of looking at a definition of a bread made near the hearth, that is a panis focus, or focaccia bread. So that's that.
Hold on. I'm sure there are a lot of Italians who don't know what you're talking about that would just disagree with you on principle. Focaccia is focaccia and pizza is pizza. What are you talking about? What's the timeline here? Because I think it's an interesting conversation. I don't know that much about focaccia, but I've done a lot of research on pizza. And there was a book that came out a few years ago where they actually went back and researched police records and fire records. And they found out about all these early pizzerias that were distributing pizza that weren't necessarily they didn't have the right permits yet because there was no such thing. And they went to newspapers and they found out who was talking about it, and they found out that it went back to Naples. Tell me what you know about focaccia.
Well, I mean, focaccia, as we sort of come to think of it, and again, this kind of ties to pizza, but even Pliny the Elder talked about something called placentum, which was literally a raised bread with bits of pecorino or sheep's milk cheese and honey. That used to be used in religious festivals and things of that nature. So going back to the ancient Romans on that one. These days you can call carpaccio anything that's technically, something served thin and raw, sliced thin and raw. I mean, carpaccio was, paper thin raw veal with a bright white mayonnaise-like dressing that was created at Harry's Bar in honor of Carpaccio, the famous Venetian painter, because those colors reminded the owner so much of his painting. So that was the origin of that dish. But now you can call it whatever you want. And I think the same is true with pizza or focaccia. And if you look regionally in Italy, if we're looking at sort of traditional or what is authentic, which is two very, very incendiary words, look, everybody's nonna makes it differently. You know what I mean? Some people put sugar, some people don't. Some people add a lot of olive oil, some people use lard. I mean, there's a million and one different sort of uses for it. At the end of the day, it's the attitude about bread, and about what you're making it for, and when you're making it, and why you're making it. I mean, today's focaccias are a lot different than the ones in Italy, and it's like having a baguette in Paris. If you can time it just right throughout France to get that baguette right as it's coming out, as many French do, they sort of organize their whole days around what time that baguette is coming out, because they know that it has a very, very short shelf life. The same is true, say, in Genoa or parts of Italy, where they know when that focaccia is coming out of the oven, because not only is it so delicious coming right out of the oven, it has a short shelf life. If you're going to be making it from dough that day. the stuff that you and I were doing at the fields and creating those sort of larger batches that were 2 and 3 days fermented, really extends that shelf life in a way. So now I make focaccias. I don't really make focaccia with the same day dough. I tend to do a 2 or 3 day or 2 or 1 day dough for that very reason, that it just lasts longer. I can pull a focaccia out of the oven at 12 o'clock and 6 o'clock that evening. It's really wonderful. If I made a focaccia based on the same day dough, it dies after a couple of hours. It just doesn't have the moisture and the life to it that the others do. So fermentation. And some people, I'm sure many times, I've made it for many Genovese who say it's not focaccia, but it's very good. So,
I'll take that. I'll take that.
I'm not going to argue with them, but I'll take the compliment.
Yeah, no, I think it's beautiful. I mean, I was saying before, sometimes I get like with Claudio, who's going to be coming on next. He's a pretty renowned chef. He was brought here, recruited from Italy, and he had some pretty high level jobs when he was extremely young, and now he's kind of mellowed out, and he's looking for Italian culture and experiences almost through product. Mm-hmm. And we've had some interesting conversations where he's talking about how he's able to find incredible flour. Mm-hmm. He's in Arizona, in Phoenix, and I think he's getting his flour from some of his flour through Washington State, and he finds incredible seafood that he puts on the grill. And he's like, I don't need my tomatoes to come from Campania, right? To create an authentic Italian dish. Right. He does a lot more than pizza.
Well, and speaking of ingredients, I think that's the key is, an Italian coming to America isn't just going to import everything from Italy to cook in the most authentic Italian way. You're really taking what's local and fresh and in season and using that as much as you possibly can. I mean, you can't replicate prosciutto di Parma. You can't replicate Parmigiano Reggiano. You can't replicate the Buffalo mozzarella from Naples. You can find local versions of different kinds of cheeses and different kinds of cured meats that are interesting or maybe even as good. They're just not the same. And so it's that balance of trying to be authentic and pure to what's local and fresh, which is ultimately the more Italian way of thinking anyway.
Absolutely. So I'm curious. I have lots of questions, but we'll start with this. Why are you writing a book on focaccia?
Because I, see a niche and the same reason I wrote 2 books on cheese. No one was talking about cheese and its place in the kitchen. It was always this sort of precious thing you brought out for New Year's Eve parties, and Americans were so intimidated by these beautiful cheeses. And as I traveled throughout Europe, going to a lot of these regions where these amazing cheeses were being produced, I found that they were often in the kitchen, being used not just, as standalone meals, but as actual ingredients and things. And I feel like that was a really great way to kind of get past the intimidation a lot of Americans who didn't grow up with that stuff have. So with focaccia, I feel it's the same way. I feel like there's such an incredible, there are focaccias in Venice that look more like what we would call a panettone, a sweet dessert. And those are displayed on the mosaics of St. Mark's Basilica in Venice. And then as you travel through Italy, you see scacciata in Tuscany, obviously the Genovese focaccias. But then you go even further south into Sicily, and the focaccia there, the sfinciuni, which are really these sort of deep dish pizzas, but then there's these rolled things called infiguratas, which are these incredible sort of like bread rolls filled with all kinds of savory things. There's just this amazing sort of diaspora of incredible breads that all kind of take the form in some form, and whether they're called that or not, the word focaccia or hearth bread. So sure. That's why I'm writing a book about it.
Follow-up question. Are we going to make some of these things together in the classes that we do?
Absolutely.
Oh, I can't wait.
Yeah.
I can't wait.
Yeah. Very
so let's see. I have so many questions running through my mind. So you also, I don't know if I'm allowed to talk about this, but you're also developing a television show where you're going to hit the road and explore some of these focaccia styles or breads. Is there anything you can tell us about that?
That's kind of, it's still kind of in the works, but it's really just comes from my obsession with bread and the idea of bread being a staple of the human diet for over 30,000 years. I mean, it goes back to before ancient Egypt and really is at the heart of who we are. And, you know, back to the Latin root again, the word companion. I mean, the word for friend in so many languages comes from the Latin cum panis, or with bread, and this idea that wherever there's two people, there's bread being shared, and that's a company or a companionship. And I love that. I think bread is really, really important. So I'm going to give some exploration into that.
That's beautiful. So you know what I would love to do? I know we tried it out when we were prepping for this. Are you able to go on your Instagram and maybe do a little screen share and
sure.
and maybe show people, you know, some of your posts? I don't know if people follow you, but I sure do. There we go. Look at that. Well done, Chester.
Is that happening?
So guys, this is Chester's Instagram. It's at Chester Hastings, and not that many people follow him yet. Just crossed over 1,000. Good for you, Chester. That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's a big mark, but it doesn't really matter how many people follow you. The thing is that the people that follow you are so transfixed by your every post. I know every time a new post comes in, my wife screams from her office, "Did you see Chester's new post? Oh my God, tell him to send one over." And she's not even, you know, a foodie or whatever that stupid word is.
Right.
She just loves what you cook and wants it in her mouth.
Right.
So I wonder if we can spend a little bit of time kind of going through some of this stuff.
Yeah, absolutely.
I want you to walk people through what we're looking at, because you can show us stuff besides focaccia if you want.
Honestly, my Instagram is just kind of a reflection of my daily life, and you know, I don't cook professionally anymore, and you know, daily, you know, this is just me making focaccia for friends and for family and for myself, because I do love it and its place in my life. So, you know, I tend to take, my mantra pretty much across the board is you take very good ingredients and do very little to them. And that is definitely reflected with focaccia. I think focaccia, as I'm writing in my book, at the end of the day, the flavor you're most trying to explore and showcase in focaccia is olive oil. So I really don't skimp on olive oil. I feel like that's the one thing. You know, there are different olive oils for different purposes, and obviously there are finishing oils and precious, you know, very, very high end, very expensive extra virgin olive oils that have no place in sort of large amounts of baking. But having said that, they're for just a little bit extra money. I mean like a couple extra dollars. The difference between using a mass-produced, God knows where it comes from, blend of extra virgin olive oil versus an actual really high-quality extra virgin olive oil, I think makes all the difference. So I would start with that. That to me is key. And then from there, the toppings are, you know, like, you know, when the cherry tomatoes are, we live in Southern California and we tend to have an abundance of cherry tomatoes well beyond summer. Then, you know, something like this dish here is the classic pugliese focaccia. And those cherry tomatoes really not only sort of burn and burst and pop into the bread itself, but they kind of sink in there in a wonderful way, and it gets fried on the bottom with lots of extra virgin olive oil on the bottom of the crust. And you can kind of see how and those just get pressed into the dough as it's rising. So there's that. Also, I think with focaccia, the thing I've really come to realize is the pan raise. I feel like that proofing in the pan is vital. I mean, you start with a dough, whether it's the same day dough or a day or two in advance, slowly bringing that dough to room temperature if it was refrigerated, and then really, really, really allowing it to proof and being really kind of almost violent or vigorous with the little holes or eyes, as they call them in Italian, that you're doing with your fingers. And that's probably the hardest thing to write about in terms of writing a recipe, is expressing that intuition as to when the dough is right, when it's okay to, you know, just give it that extra bit of rising time, and the difference in terms of air and all of that is night and day. So
yeah. You know, it's interesting. Sorry to interrupt, but we did an advanced 2 class, and we did kind of a pizza bianco, which is a cousin to focaccia. And I really wanted to show people in the class. We made a lot of pizza bianco. I made 8 in my kitchen during the class, plus pizza, plus little round pugliese style like yours. Mm-hmm. And the first one that I did that came out of the oven that I fingered, didn't look very good. And it's because when you finger that first one, you don't know how hard or how soft to do it, because really what it depends on is not exactly just how the dough feels, but how it's reflected when it comes out of the oven. And so
Sure.
once you see that first one come out, you'd be like, oh, I just need to give it a little more love. And then all the rest came out just beautiful, right?
I mean, isn't there the sort of theory that pizza and focaccia in general really, one theory or story is that the origins of it came from testing the ovens and seeing, are they ready to cook the actual bread? So let's throw a piece of dough in there and see how it reacts. And then, you know, you're not going to throw that dough away, so you can top it with something or just eat it hot. And that idea of like a quick bread thrown in the oven and kind of stemmed from that very mentality. So yeah, I think, you know, there's always that, the first one, it's like the first pancake is always a throwaway, right?
That's what I always use as an example. What else do you want to show us, Chester?
I mean, God, where do you want to start? I mean,
anything. What is that? What is that?
That's a little granita I made with some Campari and a little pink grapefruit, just, you know, because it's been really hot and that seemed like something good to make in the middle of the day. These are the baci, which are, you know, here's some fried asparagus. You just take a really nice, sharp vegetable peeler. And
is your daughter a professional photographer? How do you get such beautiful shots? Are you trained, or are you just shooting this stuff on your phone?
No, I mean, for Instagram, it's just it's an old iPhone. It's like an iPhone 8 or something. I don't even know what it is. I approach photography the same way I approach food, and certainly focaccia, which is the simplicity. I mean, really letting the ingredients speak for themselves and letting those kind of lead you. And I think some natural light and not a lot going on, and maybe a good eye a little bit for contrast and detail is all you really need. I shot the photographs for both my books, not being a professional photographer, but just having a really good camera and again, back to that natural light and letting the ingredients kind of shine. This is a focaccia, actually, I really love it. And technically not a focaccia at all, but something called gibassier that I had in Provence, which is, for all intents and purposes, a focaccia dough, but a sweet one. So in this case, it's orange zest that's been rubbed into sugar, and then that orangey sugar gets coated on top of the focaccia with the extra virgin olive oil and pine nuts, and then finished off with little rosemary flowers. And that's one of those things that about 10 minutes out of the oven, you just, it's like a donut.
Oh my God. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but when we were working together at the field, sometimes I would come upstairs and you'd be whipping up these little donuts.
Yeah.
Is this inspired by?
I mean, it's a similar thing. Yeah. There's just, again, there's something about, I mean, fried dough is, you know, every culture has a tradition in some way or another of if they have dough, they have a version of it that is fried, both elegant and very, you know, humble donut. And I think oftentimes that's kind of a professional baker's treat that it's hard to replicate in terms of being able to resell it or sell it, but a pizza dough or a bread dough, or especially a focaccia dough, really allowed to proof and get nice and warm, and then thrown into some hot oil real quickly. It blows up like a balloon, and then you can just toss that in some simple sugar and go to town. Yeah, I think we used to fill it with some. We'd go to the pastry chef and steal the bottle of brandy and whip up some cream and put that into the brandy, and a nice little 6 o'clock in the morning snack before our day started.
Yeah. I was in Spain last year, and I got the opportunity I was in Barcelona and around that area, and they had this very similar thing called coca de forner.
Oh yeah, with pine nuts. Yes, exactly. Yeah.
With pine nuts, and and they use this kind of anise liqueur.
Yeah,
that they finish it with, and it's very special the way they did it. I would go every day to these different bakeries around the city. Yeah. My wife would be sightseeing, and I'll be like, I gotta hit this place. It's driving me nuts. And you go to these bakeries that were literally world famous for this stuff. And I go there, and for me, it's like going to temple, right? And I'm there, and I'm really taking in what's going on, and I'm so excited. And I just see these people, and for them, it's just their neighborhood bakery.
Right.
They don't know that it's famous. They don't care that it's famous. They don't realize that the pictures of the stuff they eat every day and take for granted is delicious and beautiful, and you can't find it anywhere. Nobody does it like these places.
And that coco fanera has that wonderful sort of caramelized sugar on the bottom.
Oh God!
quite beautiful. Yeah, I
Love it. What do you got there?
I mean, again, I don't, there's a great old Italian proverb that says there's a special place in hell reserved for people who waste bread, which I firmly believe in. And they actually say that you'll spend the rest of purgatory picking up every crumb that you've wasted in this life with your eyelashes. The idea being that I mean, if you can imagine trying to pick up crumbs with your eyelashes, you'll be there a while. So, if I have extra focaccia on the off chance we didn't gobble it all up, I find it's the most amazing toast. It makes great French toast for my kids, who love it. It obviously, even just breadcrumbs, just blitzing it up and then coating that or sprinkling that on a simple pasta or on vegetables is really wonderful. Here's just some toast with really good anchovies and some capers. I think I did like a little lemon mayonnaise or something in there, and just the lunch of a bread maker. So
that's beautiful.
That the focaccia with onions is also something really special to me. I love it a lot. That's
now when you do your focaccia with onions, they're just raw, right?
They're just raw, yeah. And honestly, I'll tell you, like, there's a lot of versions. You can soak them in water. You can soak them in milk. I just find a yellow onion sliced paper thin. Put in, once it's in the pan rise, you just press it right on in there. There's times if your oven's too hot that the caramelization is going too fast in the onions, and so you'll find pink onions, which, just like pink champagne, just sounds sexy. So why not? They taste just as delicious.
Yeah.
And then you got pink onion focaccia. So that happens from time to time. But no, I love there's something about the onion focaccia that's just.
I gotta say, like, I didn't realize what onion focaccia was until I met you and started taking it more seriously. Jim Leahy does a version in his book, and I had made that, and it was fine. And it wasn't not great because of Jim Leahy's recipe. What I'm starting to realize is that every batch of onions I get is different.
Very much
so. Just as a, for instance, like last week, my wife is obsessed with pizza Bianca with onions because she's from Argentina. So she said, will you please make me a batch when you do your class? I said, sure. But we didn't have the white onions or the yellow onions that I'm used to. I only had these red. So I used them, sliced them paper thin, made it, and she freaked out. When I tasted it, I thought, oh my God, these onions are very special. They're very sweet. They burnt it just the right way. They caramelized in just the right way. And then I went back the next week to find more of them, and they were gone, of course. So I got another red onion that looked the same. Made them again this week. Not even close.
It's like a jalapeno. You never know if it's going to be hot or not.
Oh my God. So you know what? I feel like we should do a class with onion focaccia, and maybe we do like a milk soaked and
we've done
water.
You can do them with leeks. You can do them with the green. I mean, the green garlics. There's so many variations on doing that onion family focaccia, and it really can be quite diverse. There's a very famous Sardinian one with leeks and goat cheese and saffron. That's really, really, really
right.
Special.
And I gotta say, like, I've always been against the idea of doing feature classes with about toppings, because I find that, except for people like you and Adam Kuban, who I'm going to be doing it with, and Dan, we're going to be doing it together, people focus on these crazy combinations, and for me, you're getting away from the awesome simplicity of what Italian cooking is, right? And that's why I want to do a class like this with you, where we do something simple like focaccia and variations on a theme.
Yeah. I mean, you'll find, this may also be another sort of incendiary thing to say, but in many ways, I find that focaccia is sort of the anti-pizza in a way, because it's...
Let me hear what you mean by that.
Well, it's this idea that, I mean, in terms of the ratio of dough to toppings, and I still believe that pizzas shouldn't have that many toppings either, because you're really looking at the dough. It's like pasta shouldn't be an excuse to eat sauce. It's really the pasta that you're eating, and the sauce is there for contour and texture and nuance, but it's really the pasta. And just given the ratio of dough to topping with focaccia, it's all the same. I mean, when focaccia is just extra virgin olive oil and some sea salt, you don't have a lot of flavor profiles to go for. So again, it goes back to this idea of using really, really good extra virgin olive oil.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I love that.
Yeah.
I want to talk about a few things. I see a question coming up about when are we going to put a class on the schedule? And one of the things I'd like to think about with you is I want to try to do one class every month or 6 weeks or 2 months. But the two first classes that I really want to focus on is one where we do a savory focaccia, and we can do these variations on a theme like we're talking about, right? With one dough, maybe different size pans, or look at different olive oils or different families of onions. But I would like to do a sweet version of it, because especially that the holidays are coming up, right? And people are really thinking about these holiday season.
The classic scacciata all'uva, which is the Tuscan grape focaccia, which can be done savory with fennel seeds, but can also be done sweet with lots of sugar on it, and tends to be more of a harvest grape, wine grape kind of thing. But you can use really good black or red or green grapes, or a combination thereof, and toss them with a little bit of sugar, and then push them into that olive oil dough, and even use a little salt so you get that sweet and savory. And that's a beautiful thing. There's a lot we can do with that.
Now, I noticed that the Italian tradition really kind of revolves around this idea that certain pizzas are only of the season or only for one holiday, right? Are there any like traditional Christmas type or pizzas?
Oh, absolutely. And there's 1001 feast day. For every feast day, there's a focaccia. For the day of San Giuseppe in Sicily, there's an incredible one that's actually basically a pie or a pasticcio, but made with focaccia dough. But then the filling has fresh ricotta and pork and sugar and lemon zest, and it's this amazing sweet and savory, really, really quite beautiful. So you can kind of go crazy.
Look who just dropped in. Hi, Justin.
Hey, guys, I've got some really good news. I will not be picking up breadcrumbs with my eyelashes because I eat every crumb of bread that I could get my hands on.
Good for you, Justin.
Hey, good for my neck, right? This has been awesome, guys. I just want to see if we can get to a few of these Q&As here. Chester, I really, your Instagram page is making me very hungry. It looks
that's its goal. So
it looks beautiful. So guys, we just had a couple things. Giovanni was saying focaccia is a bread type. Once you start putting toppings on the focaccia, then it gets closer to pizza. Same for pizza. Once you make pizza with no toppings, then it becomes closer to bread. So I think that there's something in there. He also said, or she says, to extend shelf life, they always put a potato in the doji dough.
Okay, I like that.
So and just a couple things here. Chester, do you have a go-to grams per pan size ratio for your focaccia?
God, I really don't, because I do play around quite a bit with different. I really have found a lot of great success in the home oven with using the 6 and 8 inch sort of pie pans as opposed to the more traditional rectangle cookie sheets. God, unfortunately, a lot of it is despite the admonishment from Mr. Brohner there, I do tend to still work like this. This is the right amount. This is how much I use, which means you don't always get the same focaccia. But by and large, I mean, for an 8 inch round, I'll use about 320 grams of dough for a focaccia. Obviously too much dough is just going to make it heavy and dense, and you do want that room to play and have air. So yeah, I think it's about 320 grams for an 8 inch round, roughly.
Awesome. And what is the hydration that you're usually doing for your focaccia?
Again, I'm however much is enough. Quanto basta, as they say in Italian, which is the word Noel hates the most. Right? Well, this much. Just use this much. It's probably around 70% if I was looking at technically. I mean, it's not a super.
Could be around 80 if you include all that beautiful olive oil.
Well, I use a goodly amount of olive oil. I'm not going to lie. I mean,
do you have a rule of thumb for your percentage of oil?
I mean, for about for like 2 3/4 pounds of flour, I use about 125 grams of extra virgin olive oil in the dough.
Give or take. And when he says give or take, he's mostly giving, not taking.
Well, no, that's for the dough. Like, let's not forget about what's in the pan and what goes on top.
Yeah.
I will say, well, I mean, really the secret that I found for a lot of great focaccias comes from the Ligurian or specifically the Genovese technique of brushing the focaccia. The second it comes out of the oven, get it out of the pan onto a rack and brush it with extra virgin olive oil while it's hot. And that just kind of seals the deal. And it keeps it just fluffy and buttery and almost like a croissant in terms of its texture. And that's the thing that kind of, I guess it sort of just locks everything in a way.
It sure does.
That's one of the little hacks that we use when we take pizza out of the oven. We got our brush with olive oil right there going around the
same thing with the focaccia, but do it all over. And, you know, again, this is extra virgin olive oil. So you've got oleic acid that's cutting the bad cholesterols and actually giving you the good stuff. So, you know, don't worry about it.
I'm not sure about that. Usually I take the oil that's in my cupping pepperoni and go around with that, but that's another class. Hey, Chess, you like using any pre-ferments, like a biga or pouliche or any of those?
I mean, I don't. I'm not opposed to them, and I just, you know, again, I'm after kind of just basically what is a quick bread. I mean, I've already graduated from that in the sense that I'm doing it a day or 2 day in advance dough and just letting that ferment. But no, I really don't find that those things are necessary, but I'm not opposed to them at all.
So just real quick before we move on and bring on our friend Claudio. So you like chanterelles on your focaccia? You ever do mushrooms?
God, yes, I love that. That sounds so good right now.
And then okay, so that's a lot of olive oil they're saying.
Yeah.
At what point in the mix do you like to add the oil? And are you doing a hand mix, or like Noel and I like to do, are you getting in there dirty with your 70% doing a hyper mix or an intensive mix?
I mean, for the small amount that I'm doing now, I'll do a dough hook mix in a mixer, and I'll add the olive oil slowly, about I don't know, 5 minutes into the actual mix, and go another 5 or 10 minutes just till I get a nice ball, and then leave it alone. I mean, there's so many variations of focaccia. Some focaccias, the minute it comes together, you don't even look at it. You just walk away, and again, don't even look at it wrong, or you know, it'll not be traditional. But I think for American, especially Southern California baking, there's something about this hydration and this level of olive oil that's just worth the indulgence.
Wow. I love it. I look forward to it. You know, thanks for jumping on and rocking and rolling with us. Noel, should we bring on Claudio?
Yeah, Chester, you got to bounce right now?
I do, yeah. Unfortunately, I'd love to meet with Claudio another time, though. I
got it. You will. There'll be more times like this. Thank you so much.
Thank you, boys, very much. Appreciate it.
Yes, looking forward to it, buddy. We'll see you soon.
Worth the wait, Chester. Thank you.
All right.
There goes Chester. And here comes Claudio.
Claudio, how's it going?
What's happening? How are you?
I'm doing great. Are you kidding me? I just look at my pepperoni wallpaper. You kidding me?
Yeah, it's nice.
All right, I'm going to bounce off. I'm going to let you guys have edit for a little bit. And if there are any questions or anything, guys, don't hesitate. Hit me up in the old Q&A and keep that chat going between yourselves.
Claudio, what brings you here?
Hey, how you doing, man? How's it going?
How are you? Where are you today?
Phoenix.
You're in Phoenix.
It's not too hot today. It's nice. The temperature is going down, so it's beautiful. From the 110 now it's coming down. Finally, October.
Finally, yeah.
Yeah.
So I have so many questions for you.
Yeah.
We've actually never met in person, have we?
No.
You were referred to me through Jeff Yankelo. Is that true?
Yeah. So when I came to Phoenix, Jeff was running a bakery, Simply Bread, and I was with Kimpton Hotels. And, I was looking for a variety of breads, and that's where I met Jeff. And that was in, I want to say 2005. So at that time, I think Jeff did great breads and, a lot of things that were good for my restaurant. And, we became friends. Then he went on other projects. Then he went with King Arthur. And, we always stay in touch. I know now he's in San Diego, and, I see him at the pizza show sometimes. So, at that time I was looking for, ciabattas, things that I could not do in my hotel for many reasons, mainly labor, spaces, ovens. So he had really a good bakery that was supplying a lot of restaurants. That's the way I met, Jeff, Yeah.
Gotcha. And so you came to our advanced class and you did the high hydration mix with us.
But yeah, through Jeff, yeah, because he was telling me about your dough, and I was very interested in the high hydration that I did on my own, and I just wanted to learn. For me, it's a continuous learning and evolution, and I like just to see how things go with different perspective and different ideas. As I always start from the base of flour and water, and I think you can do so many things that nowadays people are like you said before, experimenting and having a lot of fun and put a lot of creativity. And I mean, you talked about Bonci, and I remember as a kid eating that kind of pizza where the toppings they were, I'm talking about the 70s. So with my dad, we used to go in these places that they do pizza al metro, and there was not that many toppings. And then I look what Bonci start to do, and using farro and using all these meals, and it's fantastic, no? Because he took like flour and water and start to put, very unique toppings on top, and I think it's very special, no? Because there is flavor for everybody. It's like, hey, you want to put pineapple and ham on a pizza if you like it. I mean, I don't look at that. Hey, it's against the tradition. It's really whatever rocks your boat and you like it.
Yeah.
You are happy. At the end of the day, for me, it's always been growing up in Italy. It's the ingredients. So when you look at ingredients, then I really like the relationship with the farmer, with the fishmonger, and I like to look at that before I look at everything else. So Chester was talking about olive oil. I look at olive oil and I say, how can you use extra virgin olive oil of a very, very high quality in a focaccia, in a pizza? Yes, you can. You just have to know what variety it is, how it's done, what kind of machinery they have. It's pretty complex to really understand the depth of olive oil can bring to the table, because how many olives variety there are in the Mediterranean. You are looking at over 500, and they are all different, just like grapes, And nowadays, I feel like flour is becoming what it used to be, where there is small mills and a small economy, and like in Italy, people growing wheat that was extinct, and now bringing it back. And I found that fantastic, because again, it's evolution. It's continuous learning and see how things are done. But at the same time, I love tradition. If you say, how do you make a carbonara? I like to follow the carbonara from a Roma, but then say, if I don't have guanciale, I'm going to use bacon. Is that bad? Nah, it's okay. I have bacon. I don't have guanciale, but I'm trying to get close to an authentic recipe. So
beautiful.
Yeah.
I could ask you so many questions right now. I'm going to try to limit myself, but I really want to kind of start at the beginning with you.
Yeah.
As with all of the guests that I'll be bringing on in this kind of 2.0 version of what we're trying to do at Slow Rise Pizza, I really want to go to the source in so many ways, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I want to understand, like, what were your, if I can call them, humble beginnings with your family? Where are you from? How do you come to cooking? Is it? I know that your family was in the flour business.
Yeah.
I think your uncle had a mill, and so
Yeah.
kind of walk us through there. And I also want to understand, like, how you came to this country and what you were doing then, and how you've shifted to what you're doing now. This is very interesting to me, and then we'll finish up by talking about some of the classes that we'd like to teach together. Okay?
Yeah. So I'm from Campania, which is again in the south, the region where pizza is very popular, I would say. My father was in the bread business as a salesman because his uncle had a mill, and his brother had a bakery. So when we talk about this time, my dad was born in 1928. He passed away. So you are looking at the end of 1800. So the uncle had a mill that ran with a river, which is common in a lot of mills at that time. And then, the flour, it was really number one, number two that you define as some whole wheat, semi-whole wheat flour. So, my father sold the flour to a lot of bakeries. So when you look at bakeries at that time, during the war, it was a wood burning oven. It was a loaf of bread that can be around a kilo and a half, that lasts for a week, was a little bit darker. And then my father went through the progression of bringing in mixers, bringing in, machinery that can cut the dough, and he represent different, factories. And also there was the evolution of flour, because you're looking at the coming through the American soldier or the American, influence of Manitoba. So the Manitoba flour came around, and the bread started to change. So from these dark breads, these are the story of my father. No, of course I was not born yet, but the flour started to change and became fluffier. The bread, of course the gluten content was higher, and then we go through the 70s, the 80s when I was a kid, that you had deck ovens, you had mixers. But, on the other side with my mom, I grew up, my grandmother from my mother at the grocery store. So in the grocery store, it's a traditional salumeria where you have pasta, dry goods. All the pasta was sold, bulk. But she was also making bread in a communal oven. There was a wood burning oven in the back of the house. So that was also, for me, fascinating, because everything was done by hand. And other people made their dough, and then they brought it to bake in her oven. And again, these are breads that could last for easy a week. So at that point, there was the fermentation of riporto. So they took old dough, let it ferment, and mix it the day after. So the mixing happened in a wood, we call it madia, and a lot of sweat, a lot of fatigue in doing that breads. I remember the old ladies that had like a cloth on the head with a board with all the different loaves. And I think you can see that in a lot of Italian, regions, that the bread was transported to a communal oven, because not everybody could have an oven. So it was kind of in the neighbor where there was a couple of ovens. And, there was a lot of fun for me as a kid, because again, what Chester said was a moment of communion. All the people came together, bake. And, I think I remember always, as my dad say, there was 1 kilo of bread for 7 kids, because World War II, a lot of people didn't have a lot to eat, and the bread was the central part of the meal. And then with that, you could see the ability of the Italian, like we talked, that with the same dough, they made pizza. With the same dough, they made a form of focaccia. With the same bread, if you cut it, you make, just like biscotti, you keep baking it, and becomes a very hard bread that, for me, again, it's one of my favorite things to eat. It's hard bread that looks like biscotti, and then you reconstitute that with olive oil, water, put tomato, anchovies, and you can really see the use of bread for extensive amount of time, because there was not ability to buy breads every day. So through that, I went to cooking school. It was, just something I did naturally, because I kind of, I liked the food environment. I was okay, being in the kitchen, helping my grandma and stuff. And, I came to the US, I was 19. So I was very happy to come to California, just because I always wanted to see the US. I was in New York, I kind of traveled a little bit, but then it was kind of interesting. Through Mezzaluna in New York, I don't know if you know that restaurant, there was one in Brentwood, and then somebody told me in New York, hey, go to Newport Beach, California, and there is a Mezzaluna. So I went there, I met the chef, which is one of my best friends, now he's in Texas, and he told me, hey, it's nice to be here in Corona del Mar, Newport Beach. It's very similar to Italy, very similar to where I came from. And they say, if you look for work, I don't have work here in Mezzaluna, but go to the Four Seasons. And, I just went there with my resume, and the chef at the time was a French guy. And it's funny, because the first thing he told me, he said, you know how to make pizza? And I say, Not really, I'm okay. My cousin, from my mother's side has a pizzeria for 50 years, but I never made pizza. I eat a lot of pizza in his restaurant, but he put me, to see his pizza that they were at that time very interesting. They were all the pizza like Wolfgang Puck was doing. So he had a pizza with peanuts, he had a pizza with barbecue chicken. And, there was at the time, I'm talking about the 90s, that Four Seasons was trying to do pizza like that. And, and I work in the fine dining restaurant. So I got the job and I was lucky. Four Seasons really treated me well. Then from Four Seasons, again, I went to Il Fornaio, which I think Il Fornaio in the 90s had great bakeries. Franco Galli came from Italy. Every restaurant had a bakery. We made ciabatta. I mean, it was big volume. So you're looking at a restaurant, they did a lot of covers. And I was in Fornaio for almost 10 years. So
now, hold on. I don't think a lot of people know, Claudio, what a big deal Il Fornaio was in California.
I think what Larry Mendel did, for me, Larry was a visionary. I think I was very lucky to enter Il Fornaio when I did, because it was the beginning. It was not a lot of restaurant. And I mean, we did a lot of breads. So what Il Fornaio brought before, all this, it was very fascinating for me. We did grissini, we did olive loaves. So having the restaurant next to the bakery, I was always in the bakery. So they supply us bread, lunch and dinner. But, there was time I had to go help because we did too much volume. There was not at the time a lot of competition. So Fornaio could do, you were talking about 800 covers, 500-600 covers. And, everybody loved the bread because we served the bread basket at grissini of three kinds, had ciabatta, olive roll, rosemary bread. So it was a lot of bread. And, I could see all these guys taking on from Franco Galli and the beginning people, because Il Fornaio still is a bakery in Italy. So when Larry went to Italy and, brought all this idea and they wrote a book about it, I mean, Franco Galli was still involved in teaching people how to bake. And then, with them, I opened a lot of restaurants. I was in Denver. I opened the one in Santa Monica. I went to Colorado. And then, I got offered a job in Vegas. So I went to work in the Osteria del Circo through a friend that was in Il Fornaio. I was ready for a change. I was happy to go see Vegas because, again, at that time, Vegas was attracting a lot of great talent. And in Bellagio, I mean, I work with Ciro Maccioni, and just Bellagio had 2 MOF from France. So these guys on the pastry level, they were very, very, very technical. In our Les Cire kitchen, Patrice Caillot was in the World Cup. And in the food size, the Italian Osteria del Circo for me was really good. It was, of course, Ciro Maccioni, all his kids, his wife. And, we really made Toscan food. So again, it was exciting. And but honestly, I didn't like Vegas. For me, it was not really coming from San Diego, California, Newport Beach. I was like, hey, I want to go back to California. And again, through Four Seasons, I was very lucky to get a job with Nancy Silverton, and I opened La Brea Bakery Cafe in Disneyland, and then we did the one in Redondo. So that's kind of where I went back to California. And, I was very fascinated by Nancy, her love from Italy, and what she wanted to do in the airports. So I was always like, hey, why the airport doesn't have good food? And she was one of the first person to get in Los Angeles in the airport and just making her sandwiches, her salads. But I learned a lot on that level of how do you take a concept and bring it to the airport. And now it's becoming pretty popular. So then Nancy kind of, I think, fade out of La Brea, and she did a restaurant with Mario, and I went to work for Kimpton Hotels, and that was again a great experience for me because Kimpton gave me a lot of opportunities, and that's the way I came to Phoenix. I went then to Washington D.C. I opened another restaurant for them, and again, I was contacted by Intercontinental Hotel that they say, through a friend, say, I know you are in Phoenix. And I came back to Phoenix to open another huge resort with Intercontinental, and again, that was great. So then, I reached a point with the kids and, with my wife that I met in La Brea Bakery, that she worked for La Brea for many years. And, now she worked for another bakery in Colorado. We decided to kind of get out of the hotel, and I opened a bakery on my own with a friend. So that was a fantastic project. We started in a garage. We bought an oven, wood-burning oven with the Alan Scott design.
Wow.
That Jason got through somebody in the East Coast. And, we just started to make sourdough loaves out of the garage and sell it at the farmer's market. So that became 100 loaf, 200 loaf. And then it was very difficult out of the garage to produce more than 200-300 loaf. And we were lucky. Good landlord gave us like a garage looking place. We kind of put all kinds of used stuff. And, I had a little bone guard. I can bake 30 loaves at the time, but it was not a wood burning oven, because in my Alan Scott, you had to fire it up, then take everything out, the night before. So it was a great project, but you could not do volume. So, from a little bone garden, we bought another Italian oven with 4 decks. And, now Noble, it's a 24-hour operation. So it became really a popular bread, still it is. And, again, I was at a point where I wanted to scale it down. I didn't want to do what I did before, working 7 days. Not that I don't like it, but it's just with the kids, and I wanted to have more time. It was, and I opened a place really tailored for my life. Sunday, Monday off. I only work Tuesday morning, and then we do Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday and Saturday lunch and dinner. I close at 3 o'clock. I reopen at 5 o'clock. So I went in a style like Italy, where you can have a little bit of time off. And, I opened Pala in 2017, and again, a little bit of a unique project. We took an house from 1920 with my partner that owns, Mexican restaurant, and he had this space. He used to come to my bakery, because next to the bakery I also had a sandwich shop. They only did lunch. And he say, "What do you think of my little house?" And I say, "Yeah, it looks great. I think we can do a good concept." And I open a restaurant that it's all wood fire, so I don't have a walk-in. I only have a grill that I designed with a guy that does food trucks. So on the grill you can cook on top, you can cook under, you can use it as a stove. And then I got Marra, a little wood-burning oven that I'm very familiar with. And we kind of specialize only in seafood. So I buy all my produce from a farmer, and I have a couple of guys that I use for seafood, and we really stay very sustainable, very, very green when it comes to seafood. I only buy what's really a sustainable fish. And it was an interesting beginning, because a lot of people didn't eat a lot of fish in Phoenix, because they have this idea of seafood is not good in Phoenix. But, fish flies, fish comes through, FedEx. And, I developed a really good relationship with the fishermen in San Francisco. Basically, I can order my fish in the morning and I get it here at 10 o'clock. Wow. Same fish that goes in a San Francisco restaurant. It's just, you got to pay a little bit of premium for the shipping. I used to know now, because of what's happening. I used to get at the Southwest, and the box is, just there waiting for me, and it's super fresh. So the concept basically is really seafood, tapas. I only do 10 items. When I run out of food, I close the restaurant. It's just like, I'm out. And I build my business on grains, which I buy from a farmer in Tucson, and I've been buying the same grains also through my bakery before. So I cook the grains, which is also something that, in the past, I would say people did, you eat grains. So I mix kamut, I mix enkir, I mix emmer wheat, sonora wheat. So the grains that they are available, you boil them, and then I mix them with a lot of vegetables, a lot of seeds, beans. I use high-end soy, high-end extra virgin olive oil, and that's a meal. And if you like, you can put a piece of fish on top. that I cook in the wood burning oven. And with the same grains, the farmer will grind them, and I make a sandwich, which, you know, listen to Chester, it's not really a schiacciata. I write it with the K so people can pronounce it. And it's really it's a flatbread, yeah. Because if I wrote schiacciata, people, you know, they were gonna struggle through the reading. So I just wrote Skiaccia, and it's kind of the way it sounds. And you know, it's a very interesting bread. So my wife, it's half Turkish, it's half Swedish. I travel extensively to Turkey and I look at the pide. I'm quite familiar with focaccia, schiacciata. So I kind of blend it together. So you're looking at all this flour together with an hydration that goes to 85%, really based on the grain that the farmer can grind.
Yeah.
And then really 1 gram of yeast on a kilo, and I let it ferment for 48 hours. There is nothing, you know, special about it. There is just like understanding the flour, understanding, you know, the fermentation, that it's a cold fermentation. And then, you know, I think the most important thing in cooking a pizza or cooking any bread is actually the baking, because you can underbake, you can overbake, you know, and, you know, managing a wood burning oven at 900 degrees, or when you are busy, it's easy to scorch your bread or burn the bottom. So, you know, I developed with a guy that worked with me for now over 8 years. He does only that. He just makes the bread, bakes the bread. So it's very technical in that. He knows how to do it. And then I fill, you know, my sandwich with seafood. So I would say my restaurant serves 90% fish. Then, you know, a lot of people came and say, oh, you should do chicken. I say, no, I shouldn't, because, you know, I want to have a seafood restaurant. And, you know, it was a lot of people. Again, when you look at seafood, some people don't like it. I say, you know, for me, it's always been, hey, there is a lot of chicken around. You can always go, and there is a lot of meat. And I really wanted to have a seafood tapas bar. That was my original concept. So now, in this time, I only introduced a sausage made with the pork from California that, you know, butcher does for me. That is very good. And then it's all seafood and a lot of vegetables. So I would say I love to see many vegetables also in a pizza, because, you know, vegetables have so many variations and so much flavor that you can really do a lot. And a lot of people say, you know, why should I eat a pizza just with broccoli, anchovies, and, you know, Fresno peppers? They say, you know, try it. It's not bad. Because, you know, you steam the broccoli has a very unique flavor, the pepper gives you the heat, you know, the anchovy gives you the salinity, you know, it's for me, again, always looking at things that they can touch the tradition, but they can also say, you know, let's have something that maybe it's good for your body, that you can digest if you gotta go back to work. And you don't want to feel like, hey, I love a great cheese pizza, but then I fall asleep, or, you know, it's difficult to digest. So let's still have a pizza or a focaccia that is lighter, is more nutritional, and has, you know, a lot of ingredients that can sustain you for 3, 4, 5, 6 hours without giving you, you know, heaviness or sleepy feeling, you know, and I associate that with natural wines, which I love. And, you know, again, there was a study that I look at how natural wine now they're becoming popular in the US. And I remember, you know, the wine of my grandfather, you know, that after, you know, a year became vinegar, but you drink it and you don't get headaches. So I love wines that they actually taste like grape juice, a little bit of fermentation, not too much alcohol. So I introduced that in Pala, and people, you know, they were buying bottles and say, wow, this is priced correctly. Because, you know, also Pala, it's a unique concept. I don't have servers. I don't have everything. It's down to the counter, which I worked. I sell the food. The guys cook it next to me. We cook it together. We look at it. We deliver it. And then you're really on your own. You got to clean everything after yourself. I didn't produce any trash. I bought everything compostable.
Wow.
So then I give all my compost to this guy that then grows vegetables. And, you know, also on that, I had a little bit of resistance. People say, you know, why I got to drink wine out of a cup made in corn or whatever. I say, you know, I sell you the wine with a very good price. So if you look at my wine in a restaurant, it will cost you $90. Here it costs you $35. So I really sold the wine like a retail shop, but I didn't have a dishwasher. I don't have a dishwasher, and you know,
Awesome.
I thought
Awesome.
for me was a way to do business really in a ecological way and delivering only X amount of items in a period of time, and you know, a little bit different than what I did before. And you know, we have our followers, so we can do, you know, a good amount of business when you consider the size. My kitchen, it's really 150 square feet, just as a wood burning oven and a wood burning grill. Doesn't have a walk-in, as a reach-in, and you know, it's really a daily creation. So in the morning, we create a menu. I got staple vegetables. They get delivered twice a week on Tuesday and Friday. They get harvested on Monday and Thursday. And, you know, if today you come at 8 o'clock, I may only have a couple of items. And the beauty of Pala was a lot of our customers, they don't even look at the menu, no? They say,
I love it. I love
just do something for me. And they know that it's going to be nutritional. He has, you know, basic technique, and it's, you know, it's something that it's done with a lot of integrity and love. You know, it's just like, and we're always there. So my guys and
Claudio,
so
I would love to listen to you talk, but I want to ask you a question or two.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, this has been really beautiful. I mean, really, I really appreciate where you come from and the lessons you've learned in your life and the way you're trying to put love and integrity in food. And you know, to me, you're on a mission, and I want to be a part of that mission. And so my only question to you is, what is your idea for what it is that we can teach people out there who want to learn about cooking or want to learn about bread making or flour? Tell me what it is you want to do, and then we're going to bring on Stefano. I want you to meet him. Maybe he has a question for you, and then we'll move on to Stefano.
But so, you know, in the pizza, the focaccia, whatever we're going to create is, for me, it's really the ingredients. So I look at people sourcing, you know, the right flour, understanding the flour. And then, you know, the technique, it can be very complex. Like, you know, you discuss, you can go in pre-ferment, you can go all kinds of bigas. But also for people that already have skills and they can bake, I think it's beautiful now to reconnect to the origin. So when you look at a miller, really understanding the flour, what's a type 85, type 70, what's a 00, and really see every flour is different. Every flour has a form of water absorption. And then, you know, creating things that, you know, are really, really seasonal. So now I look at the produce line or the banana squash, whatever it's coming around and what we can create. And then, you know, the other ingredients, from the salt, from the extra virgin olive oil. You know, for me, there has to be always a story behind. So, and also applied, you know, for somebody that is in a restaurant, say, hey, you know, this olive oil is too expensive, or this, you know, you cannot meet the food cost. I think everything is possible. It's just really understanding, you know, the technique and how much you need. Because, you know, when you use an extra virgin olive oil of very high quality, you don't need that much. You know, the flavor is so pronounced that you really need to know how to use it. And, you know, I apply that also to my cooking. So when I look at, you know, how I teach people how to cook, it's really, hey, can you make a dish with 3 ingredients? And a lot of people say, you know, not too much flavor. And I say, yeah, that's, we got to see that. So the first thing I always did is, hey, can you make a pasta just with olive oil, garlic, and chili flakes? And I mean, that's a great dish. If you choose the right pasta, you know how to cook the garlic, and you really know how to use your chili flakes, that's a great pasta. You know, it doesn't need that much. And it's,
can we do a pizza like that?
Yeah. You know, one of my favorite pizzas are really pizza without cheese. So I would say the base olive oil, you know, the chili flakes. And I mean, Chester was talking about history. You know, the original pizza in Naples didn't have cheese. Cheese came much after. So I think I don't want to say that because other people can say, the best pizza or the queen of pizza should always be looked as a marinara, you know, because that was the original pizza. So the tomato came after, but then when you combine a tomato with garlic, oregano, and it was done for the sailors, you know, these three ingredients together, you know, they're fantastic. Then you can build on that. You know, say, okay, I'm going to add cheese, I'm going to add provolone, I'm going to add all kinds of ingredients. But when you look at a marinara well done, it's very satisfying. You know, if you love pizza,
we love pizza. We love pizza, Claudio. We love
yeah.
pizza. Wait, hold a couple of questions. I want to welcome Stefano. Hello, Stefano.
Yeah.
He's in Chicago.
And I just got to say, Claudio, like just to exercise a life to thy own self be true. I just want to sit here and listen to more of, just this life and where you are now and how you've, been true to yourself. And I love it. I love it. So I'm really looking forward to it. Thank you for jumping on with us. Stefano, welcome, my friend. It's good to see you. I'm going to hop off, guys. If there are any Q&As, I'll toss them over to you guys. Enjoy the conversation. See what I did?
Perfect. Thank you, Justin.
Got it.
Claudio, we're going to chat a little bit with Stefano. You're welcome to stick around. Can you tell us if people want to do, you're doing online cooking classes now, right? Through Zoom?
Yeah. So I do my Zoom classes every Thursday and Saturday. So with the restaurant before closed, so we do at 5:30, and every time we do an hour and a half of a recipe that, I send out the recipe the week before, and people can buy, the ingredients. Some people just watch. Some people, they do it later, and I cook the recipe. Like today, we're going to do a risotto. So we focus on the choosing of the rice. Then it's going to be butternut squash, mushroom, and it's been very good for the people because they can make a meal. They can see how easy it is to cook if somebody teach you, guide you, and show you all the different technique. And it's been, really special because we have a group of people that do this tough time, just like with you. They follow you and they want to get involved and,
perfect.
Put their hands in the dough. So
I'm gonna put your Instagram in the chat so people can get a hold of you if they want to talk to you about all the beautiful cooking that you do. I'm gonna move on to Stefano now. Please stick around, and I look forward to getting back with you and doing some classes together. And that was really wonderful. Thank you so much, Claudio.
Thank you, man. Ciao.
Ciao, baby. Stefano, what's going on? Unmute, my friend. Unmute. Right now you are muted, so if you talk, we cannot hear you. And Stefano, unmute. Thank you, my friend.
Can you hear me now?
Stefano, I can hear you. What's going on over there?
Hello to everybody. Thanks, Claudio. It was really nice to hear you talk, listen to you. Thank you, Noel.
Absolutely. Where are you, Stefano? Where are you? Stefano,
now
where
I'm
are
in
you?
Chicago, in my house.
And where were you when we were talking last? You were in Italy before, yes?
Yeah, I was in Italy. Yeah, I came back from Italy on Monday.
Where were you? Where are you from? With your family?
Yeah, I was at my family house, north to Genova, between Genova and Milano.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
How's your family? How's Italy?
There, a nice month, relaxing and eating a lot of food, and so my parents can enjoy my son and be the grandparents.
Beautiful.
So it was really nice.
Beautiful. What about your dogs? Did you bring them with
you?
you?
Dogs are around here somewhere. Yeah.
When I met you, you didn't have a son, but you had dogs.
I have dogs. Yeah, I do. I have 3 boys instead of 2.
Beautiful. Beautiful. You have a son and 2 male dogs, yes?
Yes, sir.
Awesome. And you love them equally, yes?
Yeah.
Yes. Beautiful thing. Well, welcome back. I know you're going back to Italy, so probably when we do the class together, it'll be from Italy, right?
Yes, correct. Yes.
Beautiful. So, I have a lot of questions for you, just like Claudio, just like Chester. But I want to start with your journey through bread. And what I love about everybody's journey is that they're all a little bit different, and everybody we're all making ciabatta, right? We're all making pizza bianca. We're all using sourdough or pouliche, but we all started somewhere and ended in a similar place. I'm very interested in people's journeys and people's stories and what made you the baker you are now. Very different from all the other bakers that I'm trying to come and trying to have join us here on our little Pizza Zoom adventure. So can you tell us a little bit, just to start, about where you're from and how you learned, and then we'll get to some of the classes we want to do together towards the end, all right?
Okay. So, of course, in Italy, when you start the culinary career, it's a little bit different. We start really early. We start at 14 years old. It's like a high school. So you pick, when you're really young, what you want to do on your life. So me, I pick culinary school, and I was 14, and I specialized in pastry and baking. So over there, they give you a base around, the base about pastry and the base about baking, okay? And then, of course, for my first few years of my career, I did 90% I did pastry. So I learned from really good people in Italy and even in the United States. And I worked the base in this pastry shop called Pasticceria Zoccolo in Alessandria, a really old school bakery. So they didn't have a sheeter. We rolled everything by hands. We're really old school. And the boss there was really, he didn't want to buy the machine. It was really, old school. So after that, I got a job for Club Mediterranee. There's a hotel company. And I traveled all over Italy. And I worked for this hotel company as a pastry commis. And I continued to grow, And then after that, finally, I got a job in San Francisco, and I came in San Francisco. And I worked for Gary Rulli, amazing person, amazing professional and pastry chef in the Bay Area. And there I started to introduce a little bit myself in the bread world a little bit more. I spent with Gary 3 years, and then I decided to move back to Italy and go take a long class and work together with my mentor in bread is Pier Giorgio Giorilli. There is a mentor not only for me, but I think for any Italian that do bread in Italy. They know Pier Giorgio Giorilli is a master in his profession, and he teach a lot of classes, and he wrote a lot of books, and he teach me really well to do bread, and that's make me really fall in love in the baking. And with that, I came back to the United States. I worked for a couple of years in Indianapolis, and then I ended up in Chicago, when in the last few years I was running the bread program for 8 restaurants for the Lettuce Entertain You. And here I am. Really fast.
Really fast. Not so fast, buddy. Not so fast. You got somewhere to go, or you're going to spend a little time with us?
Of course. I will spend how much time you want. Man.
Okay, good. No, it's beautiful. So, I mean, here, a few follow-up questions. So you started out when you're 14, right?
Yes.
And then you seem like you're already traveling, working as a commis for a hotel chain. How old were you when you were traveling around Italy working for different hotels?
So, my first girlfriend cheated on me. So, that's why I decided to leave when I was leaving. I got a job, and I was maybe 21. Yeah, 21. Yeah.
Now you have options, right? Because you can do pastry, so you can really go anywhere where they need, classic pastry. Is that what you were doing then?
I did. From pastry, I did everything. So, of course, you learn from the basic dough, so frolla, puff pastry, choux, all these things, and then they make you jump more. We did cakes, we did the mignon pastry, we did wedding cakes, and then I ended up falling in love with the lievito madre with Gary Rulli and the production of the panettone. That is still my first love. It's really hard. It's challenge you every day. So that's what made me fall in love most of everything. And then, I specialized, I told you, more in the bread section, the savory part. So I learned the classic bread, ciabatta, baguette, the all different way to balance your bread, all the percentage and everything else.
Now wait, you speak so quickly. What is the name of the Italian bread master that everybody in Italy knows, but I can't understand what you're saying? Can you type his name into the chat? Yeah.
Yeah, of course.
Type his name into the chat for those of us who are having a hard time understanding you, and we want to follow up and do a little research. All right. No, because it's important, because I want to work with you, and I want people to understand what your culture and heritage is and your history. And I think these stories are really important because you've gone down a long road since you were 14. How old are you now?
I'm 32.
Yeah, so we've been working professionally for 18 years, and still you're very young, but you've had a lifetime of experience, right?
Thank you.
And most people, I mean, honestly, I've only been doing breads for probably 13 years professionally, so less than you, and I'm 53. So
yeah, you know better than me that this job is something that you learn every day, so you never stop to learn. I'm a kind of person too that I love to take in class. I love to spend money in books, and maybe too much money that my wife is yelling at me every day about books, but that's what we love. It's something that you learn even every day when you go to the kitchen and maybe the weather change, or maybe the flour that they bring to you is a little bit different than the batch before. So you always learn something, and it's challenging, and I love it. It's the beauty of this job. I think we're doing the best job in the world.
Yeah, right. It's funny. I had a discussion the other day with one of my mentors. His name is Ori Menashe. He has Bestia and Bavel here in Los Angeles. He worked for a famous Italian chef that came to Los Angeles when he was young, Gino Angelini. I think he was the first. I think he was like 19 years old when he was running a Michelin 5-star restaurant in Italy. So for that, he's famous. But in LA, he's famous for bringing one of the first regional Italian restaurants. But I was talking with Ori the other day, and he was saying, Noel, you really should open your own pizzeria. What are you doing? You're so talented. I'm like, Ori, I don't know why you're giving me this pep talk. I love what I'm doing. I learn every day. I have 20 clients around the world on Zoom, and I'm in Manchester one day, and then I'm in Phoenix the next 2 hours later, and then I'm in the Middle East working on a frozen pizza program 3 hours later. Like, I'm learning so much. I feel like even though I'm trapped in my apartment, I'm doing a lot, and I'm learning, right? I mean, to me, being a teacher is the best because they're paying me to learn. I should be paying them. Right? So anyway, we're on the same page with this. Yes, sir.
Some people just ask me the name of the baker, and I would love to write it, but I don't find the place to write.
On the very bottom, there's mute, stop video, and chat. You know what I probably need to do here? Hold on, Stefano. I probably need to make you a co-host. And let's see, if I make you a co-host now, maybe you have a few more buttons on the bottom of your screen. Do you see where it says chat?
So you can chat with panelists and attendees if you look at it, Stefano?
I have mute, stop video, and share content. That's it. And participant and more.
Let's try more.
More.
Are you on your phone?
Chat. Okay.
Are you on your phone or are you on a
sorry,
laptop?
Guys. I'm really stupid with computers. No. You guys challenge me.
Job. You're doing a great job. You kidding me? And just
no. Not really good, man.
Steph, you're good.
Goes to all panelists and attendees. Perfect.
I hope that everybody see that.
I hope so too.
There we
Justin
go.
will help you out. Don't worry. Like just get us going.
Yes.
Excellent.
Okay.
Justin, you see what he typed? There it is. See, no wonder there's so many vowels in there. There's almost no consonants. There's a couple of 3 G's, I's and O's and E's and Jesus. There's like 17 I's in his name.
Giorgio is the chef of the chef about baking in Italy. Italy wins the World Cup, if I'm not wrong. I don't want to say, I think 2 times with him, but
yeah.
He is the author of a lot of great books. So some of the books are really not like recipe books, but the theoretic part really teach you the basic stuff, like to learn everything behind the process, the fermentation, the flour. So it's really great books. So if you find the English version, I hope for you.
No. We're not going to find the English version. We found you, and you're going to translate for us on Zoom, all right? No English books here, all right? Thank you very much for wishing us well and finding the English books. That's not why you're here, okay? Stefano, maybe I need to send you a memo. You're going to teach us. You're going to teach us this stuff. That's what we want to know from you.
Yes. Yeah,
and you know what's beautiful is that I have friends from Rome, and I have friends from Milan, and I have friends from Tuscany and Sicily, and of course in the south there's so many beautiful friends from the Naples area. Where are you from, and what are you going to teach us? That's what I want to know.
Okay, so I told you I'm from north of Genova and south of Milano, and the product that I'm gonna teach with you is the pre-fermented, so biga and Polish, and the ciabatta. So all the variation that we can do with the same pre-fermented, or change the pre-fermented, change the percent of the pre-fermented, and play around the ingredients and learn how to balance your own recipe and try to switch it and change it and personalize.
Yeah.
That's what I would love to teach you guys.
Good. So in that, here are some of the things that I like to do. I like to start with the basics, and I want people to understand the rules and the traditions. And what I find in pizza making is that a lot of my friends, whether they're chefs or they're home bakers or they want to open up their own places, nobody ever taught them the rules. So for them, they don't know how much Polish to put in a pizza dough, how much pâte fermentée, right? How much biga. They read somewhere that it's 150% biga, so they start there. They read somewhere else where it's 2% levain, so they start there. But between 2% and 150% is a lot. And so what I like to do is teach people, okay, in traditional focaccia, right, you might only use 10% pre-ferment, right? And maybe in ciabatta, it's closer to 15%. And maybe in, focaccia or pizza, you might go, 20 or 30%. And maybe like in a country loaf that they want to last 5 or 7 days in the hills of, some region in Tuscany or in maybe in France, they might go 40 or 50. And I've seen beautiful biga recipes, right, for these big country loaves that go 150% more pre-ferment than flour. So I want people to understand the traditions. I want people to understand how in one region in Italy it'll be different from another region that maybe isn't 20 minutes away by car, but culturally it's a world away, right? Focaccia in one town in Italy is very different from the next town.
Yes, absolutely true. So there is a lot of many variety of, about any food. So you go 20 miles a little bit north, south, east, and the products change a little bit. Maybe it's not exactly the same. They make a variation and they said that one is better than the other one. There's a lot of competition even around that too. But it doesn't mean that there is a best product. There's only one way to do the thing. So
yes.
Like, for example, to make a ciabatta in all my career, so ciabatta made it with 30% of biga, with 50% of biga, or 100% biga, and don't even add any flour. So that's depend of the product that you wanna develop, how you wanna market your products to, and there is no a set rules that we need to follow when you try to make bread and personalize it. That's the beauty, Even like the focaccia, you go in Genova, we are known for the focaccia genovese, and from bakery to bakery, the focaccia changed completely. My favorite one, if I can recommend somebody, is to go in Via San Vincenzo. The name is Mario. For me, it's the best one. I gotta write it that too. But I repeat, there is a lot of really good ones. You can go to Sestri Levante, Cogoleto, a little bit outside of Genova. There is really good bakery that you can eat an amazing focaccia genovese.
So answer me this. I've been to Genoa, but at the time I didn't know. I know about the pesto, but I didn't know about the focaccia. What is so special about focaccia genovese?
So focaccia genovese, the special is really thin. It doesn't have to go up to like 2 centimeters. It's already too thick.
Wow.
So it's a thin product, and it's really oily and salty. So the bottom is really soft and the top is kind of crunchy.
Wow.
With this big hole known, the finger, like the signature of the focaccia, the signature of the baker, that always you fill it up with a salamoia. There is a mix with water, oil, and salt.
Let's stop. Hold on. A lot of people don't know about this. What are you saying? Salamoia?
Salamoia, yeah. It's
what
a
is
mix
that?
Of, usually it's the same amount of water and salt. Water and olive oil. And you make like a emulsion, the best that you can do it. And damper on top of the holes that you do in the focaccia genovese to soak it and really make the nice salty hole when you eat the focaccia that make the product amazing. So
I gotta say, I want you to keep explaining these things, but when we first worked together, I was there and I was working during the day, and you would come in and you had a night team going. And I remember one of these nights, it was maybe 6, and I was going to be working until midnight. We were having a bad day. You remember those first couple of tastings didn't go so well, although we did well in the end. But anyway, I was pulling an all-nighter because I didn't want the same thing to happen that happened the first time. And you had sheeted all these focaccias, and they were rising in the pans, big giant 60 by 40s, and you had fingered them, and then you were taking this squirt bottle of olive oil, and I watched you, and I'm like, he's crazy for focaccia. And you were doing so many beautiful styles of bread, but the focaccia came out, and I'm like, this guy is crazy. And the way that you did it was like it's like you had a garden hose, and you were spraying all these focaccias, but it was like, if I can say, it was like an act of love what you were doing. And I feel like you maybe have done it many times, and you were taking it for granted. And I was like, stop, let me get a picture. Typical American tourist, right? There's many kinds of focaccias besides the one that you just described. What are some of the other ones that you like, and how are they different?
Like, for example, the focaccia that we were doing here in Chicago is a really, really thick one focaccia. It's something that maybe you can find it more in the south of Italy. And I repeat, it's a great product. And like I told you before, every place you go, they have a different kind of bread and different kind of focaccia. So, of course, in the United States, everything have to be bigger, and, Americans love this kind of style. So, of course, that you need to match whatever you are to try to make the customer happy. So that's our first job. So the focaccia that we were making there was made with Polish as a starter, but you can make like even a direct dough, or maybe substitute the Polish with the biga. Of course, you're gonna change the product a little bit, but you always need to match the quantity of water, quantity of salt, to end up with the same product, the same hydration, to have the closing. Of course, it's gonna change a little bit, but the product, that's the beauty, try to switch things and try to personalize, like even the baguette. The classic baguette is usually made with the autolysis, the flour and water, and then you put levain, yeast, you do a cold fermentation overnight, then you do a pre-shape, and it's done. But you can do a really good baguette with Polish.
Yeah.
Or we can do even really good baguette with biga. So you always need to match the percent that bread characteristic does. So around baguette, you're around maybe 65, 68% of hydration.
Yeah.
That's the things.
So if you had to say, if somebody's looking to learn to make these classic Italian styles, what's the easiest bread to start with that you can make a reasonably good either focaccia or filone or baguette or ciabatta? What's the easiest, and then getting harder and harder? How do you decide which one to go to next? And what's the hardest, and what's the most advanced, and what are we aiming towards, right? Where do we start and where do we finish? Do we start with focaccia?
Yeah, I would say, to start with the focaccia, with maybe not too high hydration either, like something maybe around 60% hydration. Of course, when you add hydration in each bread you want to do, it become a little bit hard. You have to become a little bit more confident in what you're doing, to shape it, to handle the wet dough. It's kind of more difficult to handle a hard dough, that's for sure. So I would say that maybe the ciabatta doesn't have to be the last. Like, for example, for me, the baguette is the most difficult to make. A really good one is the most difficult one. Make a ciabatta, if you spend a little bit more time there, you know how to handle a little bit. A dough, we can do a ciabatta pretty easy at home. Maybe some is going to be more beautiful than other, but at the end, the product is going to be great,
Yeah. Why do you say the baguette is the most difficult? I say the same thing, but I want to know your experience.
Because the baguette, everything has to be kind of perfect. If you do a good autolysis, the levain has to be perfect. The rest overnight, the pre-shape, even the pre-shape. Some people say,
even the pre-shape.
Yeah. So if you make a good pre-shape, there is no, for example, when you tie the bread, then one side is a little bit more tighter than the other. When you ended up doing the final shape, you're gonna see the difference.
Yes.
And it's gonna be beautiful. So
right.
That's all little things. Even like when you put it in the towels, you know.
Yeah.
Upside down. If you let it too loose, the towels is gonna relax too much. It's gonna change the shape. If you tight it enough, it's gonna be great. When you flip it, the way you cut it, and so a lot of details, they ended up with a perfect product. If you don't make it, it's always you find some defect, like the ear doesn't open really well, the crumb is a little bit too close, and the crunch is different. So baguette, I think, is the most challenge. Absolutely. Yes.
One of the things I think is interesting, and I think a lot of people might think, Noel, you're overthinking it, or why do you want to use a French technique on an Italian product or an American product? But for me, learning to make a baguette informed the rest of my bread making. Like, talk about the pre-shape, right? It's very important in baguette making. If you don't get the pre-shape right, the final shape won't be right, and when you cut it open, you'll see all the problems. I find that introducing a pre-shape into pizza making is very important, because a lot of people, when they're stretching their dough, they're like, oh, I have a hole. It's not because you didn't, it's not because of the way you stretched the dough. It's because, and it's not even the way that you balled the dough, but when you pre-shape the dough, when you finally ball it, you'll have a nice, even, easy to work with piece of dough. And then 1 or 2 days later, when you open it up, it's perfect. If there is a problem in your process, right, it will show up later, but unless you understand all of the steps and how they fit together, as with the baguette, you're not going to realize that you're never going to make a great pizza without, I don't want to say analyzing, but at least understanding how everything fits together, from choosing your product to finally baking it and allowing it to cool. There's so many things that can go wrong, and the baguette is so unforgiving. If you can make a good baguette 50% of the time and a great baguette only 5% of the time, you're way ahead of most people, right?
Oh yeah, that's true. The baguette is, I repeat, is really, really challenge. And like you said too, even like all little things can make a difference in the bread. Like the ciabatta that I will show to the class is gonna be the classic ciabatta that you don't fold it. But for example, if you decided to personalize and add one folded, you're gonna completely have a different bread,
right,
that you can't call it ciabatta. So if you guys look at my Instagram page, you're gonna see the good ciabatta, the classic long one.
Yeah.
But with the same dough, I make something that I call personalized and call a filone, because I had the folding in the middle, and or maybe, you know, I changed the percent of the quantity of biga. Maybe was not 100% of biga, was a little bit less. And you always personalize with the pre-shape, even like in sourdough, how many fold you give it in all the proofing process, you know, from get out of the machine to when you put in the basket, how many fold you give, how you fold it. Sometimes you notice, like you said, you find defect. If you fold it only one way, and maybe you try to do a different way, then you find a big hole in the middle, and that's a defect that you can do it. So, of course, that's the beauty, you know, try to personalize and trying to find the way that works better for you, for your style, and try to make yours something that is universal.
Absolutely.
That's what we can say.
So I know we have a lot to talk about, and I wish we could spend more time. I do have a question for you, because you're talking about personalizing. Yeah. I know that you've been working, you know, really in Italy and around the United States for a long time. You have plans to go back to Italy and actually do something on your own. Is that true?
Yes. Was always my dream, you know. So with this COVID that happened, unfortunately, everything ended up in a different direction. So with me and my wife, we decided to just pack it up, everything, and again, invest some money in my own country and do my bakery and pastry shop. So I go by myself and with my family and open something over there.
Wow. And where do you think, where will you do that? What city?
I think we're going to stay no matter what in Riviera, so close to Genova.
Wow.
That for sure. Yeah, I don't want to go so far. That's I stay where I am. Yeah, that I know better, you know. you know the tradition, you know what the people like it, what they don't like it, what you know what the competition does. So that's I think is the best place.
Will it be traditional, or will it be something that you've learned and maybe are going to try to teach the Italians, you know, something
Honestly,
new?
I really admire the bakery. It's called Davide Longoni in Milano. I don't
I'm
know, you
sorry,
can
can
look
you
it
please
up.
type that? I can't
I type it
understand.
up everything. Before
Thank
I
you.
finish, I type it up everything.
Good.
He's a really great baker, and he make amazing product in Milan, and I recommend to everybody to go there and check it out. He make all the bread with the sourdough and make a big size, so everything is around 500 grams and more. So in Italy, 90% of the bakery, they do the classic bread that everybody does. Would be cool to like try to, you know, provocate a little bit and do something different, even in Genova, to just do big size of bread, like old school, always only with the lievito madre and maybe levain, but try to don't use yeast at all and try to come back a little bit old school.
Yeah.
That I would love to, and I like it. It's something that even like you know, in my Instagram page too, I was working the last few months with the fermentazioni spontanee. That it's only, you know, you let it fermented water. Yeah, right, everything. If you let it fermented water with fruit and honey and sugar, let it fermented in a warm spot and takes roughly 5 days, a week. And then it is completely fermented. You make a starter, usually a pulish. Me personally, I prefer a pulish in this kind of situation. You made a pulish with this water, let the pulish double, that takes roughly 1 day, and then use it in the dough. And you don't put any sourdough, any lievito madre, no yeast, it's just the fermented water that is gonna be your how you say, your levition part, your
Your
lievito part.
leavening agents. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
That's
your
awesome.
leavening. Thank you.
That's incredible.
It was really fun, and I enjoyed doing that.
I'm looking forward to doing a lot of things with you, but for me, I love when I work with bakers that really understand traditions, and then you find something that piques your interest and you want to pursue that and hopefully teach other people something new. And so I want to combine like tradition, innovation with you, and hopefully we can do, I know you're going to be busy. You have your bakery and you have your family and you're moving and selling your house, but maybe we can do a class every 6 weeks or 2 months and learn with you. And I feel like you have so much to teach. And I know when I met you, it was crazy, and I came and I left. It was like a did it even happen, right?
Yeah, I know.
So, but now I mean, I don't want to say I'm glad of anything that's happening in the world right now, but at least we can connect like this, and hopefully we can teach people some of this crazy stuff. Go back in and type some of those things.
I do it right now.
We want to know the name of the bakery in Milan.
Yeah, Steph, and I'm really looking forward to this. I love everything that you're saying. I love the ideas of, you know, Noel and I talk about it. We know our history, and then we kind of color outside the lines a little bit and discover those little that we can work on. So I'm really excited about that, man. Really
man, I'm excited too. That's fun. You know, it's even a kind of job that is, the beauty is to share.
Yeah.
If you share, is you know, it's, I think it's a motivation for everybody to get better. And you know, if you give a lot, you can always find a motivation for yourself to, you know, try to experiment more and learn from you. And you know, I love it, man. It's something that I always love it since I was a kid, you know.
Yeah, the more that we can spend time with quality people and break bread and make bread and share bread, the better off we're all going to be. So I'm really looking forward to it, too. I love it.
Yeah. Thank you, Justin. Yeah, let's do it, man.
Absolutely. Well, no, we you know, it's a little after 12. We do have a few more questions. I don't know, you guys want to talk about anything else, or you want to focus on these?
No, hit us up on the questions, please.
Okay. So Elliot is one here, guys. Is it possible to achieve a crispy charred bottom in a convection oven? Max temp 500. Convection oven. You know, my attitude is with the convection oven, I have a tendency to ride my convection a little bit, because it will usually brown the top before my bottom, unless I have a lot of bottom heat coming out. So you can do it, but usually what I do is I like to start on convection for the first minute or so and then turn it off so I get that little extra rise at the top. But I don't want my cheese and stuff, I don't want it too charred. I'd like an even cook on it, Elliot. Anybody else? You guys want to jump on that?
Stefano, what do you think?
No, you go first.
All right. So here's the thing. If you're using a professional convection oven, not a home oven with convection, here's the issue with me. You have a fan on low or high. Some of the modern ovens are 1 through 5, and low is not that low. And you can't turn them off. Like with a professional combi, I've called those guys and be like, can I please turn off my fan? They're like, no, you cannot. We're using it to cool the motor. And I'm like, ugh. So no matter what, when you have a convection oven, you're never going to get the bottom heat without getting too much top. I'm working with a couple of companies right now that are making these custom stones or steels to put in convection ovens, and we're working with I'm working with a lot of different companies to try to do what so far has not been done, which is to get an even bake on top and bottom. Maybe there's a way to supercharge the steel that is in your convection oven, so you drop it and it's so hot that you start to sear the bottom and get more browning on the bottom than you would normally get. But my professional experience in working with convection is that you get a beautiful top and side browning and never enough bottom. Stefano, how about you, convection ovens?
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of using convection oven. Sorry, guys. I know that that's the most common oven that is available, but yeah, it's kind of tough. And I would say that maybe do that one, and maybe you can always leave a part bake like that. Maybe the last 5% of the baking you can put in a pizza stone inside the convection oven, let it warm it up the most that you can, like keep it really hot, and then you do the last 5 minutes like that. So you try to crispy the bottom a little bit. That's something that came up in my mind, but yeah, it's always it's not easy. I know for personal experience that it's not. But you can always try to figure out this way, maybe you, like I told you, put a pizza stone and try to crispy that way. Flip it, like you said, Justin, is not the best idea because you can try to, lose everything. So maybe not, but yeah, that's
Tough
what
one.
I said.
It's
Tough
just
one.
one of those things. You got to figure out how to use the resources that you have at your disposal. So if you have a pizza stone in your convection oven and you've got that bad boy up to 500, you might be able to get some stuff going. But you'll just have to, what Chris Bianco says: you burn, baby, you learn. You burn, you learn. So
yeah.
It's a good one.
Stefano likes that one, Justin.
So, well, it's not mine. That's your boy Bianco. So, now this is a loaded question, guys, and I'm just going to softball it to you. Do you have a flour preference? A 00, a bread flour, an all-purpose or other? And does it depend on the hydration percentage?
Stefano, I'm passing this one to you first.
Okay, me, I know I love to play with a bunch of flour. That's the beauty, try new ingredients, try American flour, Italian flour. We have a lot of names, a lot of, you can pick whatever you want, but the good thing is to try to play. Maybe you can play with the same recipe, same hydration, with different match of flour to try to arrive at the product that you want. Like, for example, I remember when I was working here in Chicago for RPM, we were trying to do a really good Genovese focaccia, like you eat in Genova. And I always have this problem that, try to match the flour in the way that you have the same texture in your mouth, that, they have this child memory. But so I ended up doing maybe 5 to 10 different experiments until I find a good match that I say, okay, that's what I like. So you always need to play. Honestly, I'm not super against the white flour. I don't see all this, no more white flour. I don't think it's, if you do a good fermentation, a long fermentation, that the yeast have the time to eat all the sugar, you gotta end up with something that is healthy, like a whole wheat. So it's even how you handle the product sometimes. If you eat a really high gluten flour that you let it ferment for 2 hours, of course you're gonna kill your stomach and it's not really healthy for you. But if you do a really long fermentation with that good white flour, you ended up with the product that is amazing and really digestible. And so I love to use everything. You know, it's like a construction. You mix whatever you have available, and you play around. Yeah.
Awesome. Good answer. So good, I'm not going to even give a follow-up. Justin, next question.
Nothing.
Okay.
Giovanni has been really helping us out. He's been talking about your mixture of oil, water, and salt. The how do you say it?
Salamoia.
Salamoia. So he's been helping us out, and he knows your buddy. He said that your friend was the father of the biga, or the Grillo.
Yeah, it is.
So he is asking, the dough temp always ends up to be the same as the room temp. So, and then he asks, well, what do you do if the room temp is above, this is 25 degrees Celsius. So if it's above, if it's too warm in the room, we use colder water.
Yeah, usually you have to finish, when you mix the biga, you have to finish around 16, 18 Celsius. So I think it's 64, I think, in Fahrenheit. And you have to keep it like 1 hour room temperature, so around 20 degrees, and then you have to put in a room at 16 Celsius for 24 hours. If you want to do a biga with the same biga, the same recipe, so it's 100% is flour, 44% is hydration, and 1% is the yeast. With these rules, the classic Giorilli biga, then you can always, if you put in leave it maybe around for a couple hours room temperature, then you put in the cooler for a day, then you take it out. You can push the same biga, instead to give it 24 hours, you can give it 48 hours, 72 hours. The most important thing is that you can't just make the biga and put in the refrigerator, because you block it, it's not gonna work. You have to always let it start first and then retard it. So let it start for a couple hours, then you put in the refrigerator for maybe 36 hours, and then you take it out, let it cool for another 6 to 8. Usually you know when the biga is ready when you mark the level and raise only half of the size. When it's double, for me, it's already too late. I don't like to use. I prefer to use it when it's halfway up. That's personal, because you notice too that when the biga is overproof and you mix a bread, you lose strength in the dough. The structure is not going to be the same, because at the end all the sugar are gone. So you're working with a product that is dying. So it's always better to refresh with something, or maybe add flour, add more flour. But you have to, of course, don't forget to fix the recipe if you try to do these kind of things.
Good answer, Stefano. Good answer.
Love it. I love it. This has been great. The last question we have, guys, from Felicia, is saying, are there any resources or books that we would recommend about the flours and or pizzas? Noel, I know you've got a good couple ones. Any books? Any books that you guys would recommend that could help some people?
Stefano, your wife is always yelling at you that you're buying too many books. What do you have on your bookshelf that your wife wants to sell to somebody? What great book have you bought recently that you think people need to know about?
So I bought the Fermentazioni Spontanee. You're gonna write that. It's an Italian book. That's the good thing.
I'm gonna have to hire an interpreter for this guy. Yeah. I don't mind.
I love to buy Italian books. I think about bread, we're doing great book. But even like the French book, like the Grand Livre La Boulangerie, is an amazing book. I can suggest that, and you find the English version. I gotta write that.
Thank you, sir.
Give me a second. But I repeat, like I said before, all the books of Giorilli, hands down, is the best books ever. So.
Are they in Italian only, or is there a chance that they might?
Let me look it up. I think that I found it in Spanish, so that can help for some of you guys.
Yeah. Interesting.
Because I give one to one of my colleagues for a present, for a Christmas present.
Yeah. Excellent.
And I found it in Spanish.
Yeah. You guys, you know what's amazing about some of these books too is that you buy them, and this is just my experience. Maybe you understand 50% or honestly 25 or 10% of what you read, but the better you get, you revisit these books, and the instructions or the recipes that will make more sense to you, because the more you bake, the better you become, the more you understand, and the mind and the hands have to meet in the middle. You know, just a recipe in a book doesn't make any sense until you've like when we talk about baguette making, right? People always say to me, can you teach me to make a great baguette? I'm like, I don't actually think so. I cannot. I can teach you the rules, and you have to make hundreds or thousands of baguettes so that your hands and your mind understand what you're going for. And it's so many things. It's theory, it's hydration, it's fermentation, and then it's hand feel, right? When you're pre-shaping a baguette or you're bench resting a baguette, these aren't even the most important steps in baguette making, but you're constantly dialing in that beautiful combination of strength, right, that you need to trap the gas, but extensibility. And that extensibility, when you're finally rolling that baguette to 20 inches, right? If you have too much strength and that baguette is too short, you can't fight it. You can't put it in the oven. It needs more time, right? And I don't think you can teach people that, right?
Yeah, you have to, like Justin said, you have to try and burn out a few things and learn.
You burn, you learn. You burn, you learn.
So that's how it works.
Learn, you learn. Well, guys, this has been fantastic. You know, as far as I can say, you know, I'm really looking forward to getting these classes on the books.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know if you guys want to say anything to our last 20 or so participants that have been. I just want to say thank you guys for hanging out with us. We're a bunch of pizza geeks and dough dorks, and we can wax and wane on the pros and cons and the different techniques for a while, guys. We love this stuff. It's really important to me that we're just, you know, working on this foundation dough so we can have something to build upon. And I hope everybody goes out, you know, breaks bread with people that they give a shit about. Bring your kids in, bring your loved ones in, and make some pizza with them. Make some bread with them, guys. Because through this, you know, we're all going to get through it together. But go out there and break bread with people that you give a shit about. You guys know that Noel is at Slow Rise Pizza. You can always hook him up. We will have classes at slowrisepizza.com. You can always check there for our online classes that will be coming up. Please check that. Please, if you haven't already, let's get on our mailing list so we can send you updates to the classes.
So we can spam you, right, Justin?
We're not trying to spam you. We might be trying to like make a ham and pineapple pizza though with you. I mean, I might make some. I put spam. Nothing against that. I got no problems putting a little spam. Spam in case of hand. It sizzles up a little bit better.
It does sizzle.
Guys, we have on-demand classes too, so go and check out what we're offering. I like to say just a few things, guys. Stay safe, stay strong, belong with one another. The opposite being short, because we all belong here together. And I think everybody here that's that's into this stuff agrees. You know, pizza always, guys. Even pineapple. Let's not get into the politics of it. Always pizza. Thank you guys very much for hanging out with us. I'm going to turn it over to you guys to say bye-bye.
Stefano, Justin,
yes,
thank you guys so much. This has been super awesome. I'm glad we finally got together, Stefano. By the way, thank you for rehearsing with me yesterday. Today you look great. The lighting is excellent. The sound is good. I don't know if you washed your hair or something, but you look awesome yourself.
Yeah, take a shower, nice and fresh for you, man.
That's more than I can ask for. So, okay, I'm going to ask for one more thing. I know your life is about to get crazy. Can we please get one date? I know you don't know what your life's going to look like in 4 or 6 weeks. Let's get one date on the calendar that we can shoot for.
Yeah, of course.
And if you have to be in a park in Genoa, right, or in a boat, right, in the water, mixing a poolish with salt water, I don't care. Let's just do it.
Okay, no, I promise you. Yeah, I'll let you know in the next few days, but I told you, for me, it can work really well. The first 2 weeks of November is going to be a good date for us. For me, I'll let you know exactly when.
Perfect.
But that's no problem, and then we go from there. So you guys, so we can mix together some pre-fermented, and maybe do some mistake too. Maybe I try to make some mistakes,
with
so you
something
guys
simple.
can already see the mistakes.
Yeah.
So you see, okay, maybe that's look like this guy. So I think that it's nice to do a class, but sometimes it's good to do a class with a lot of mistakes.
Yes,
so that's
my
great.
favorite.
So we were trying to do that one, and then we mixed together maybe a ciabatta, and then we have some feedback from everyone. They want to take a class with us, me and Noel, and see if you guys want to learn something else, and let's do it. We can make a lot of products, and I would love to teach you, how to balance your own bread, how to learn the base and personalize it, and
Yeah.
it's a really easy mathematic that you have to do. It's not so crazy. You see that me with the computer, not really smart, but with the flour, water, and piece of paper and a pen, I can figure it out.
Yeah.
It's really easy, and we go there, so you can always personalize and do whatever, make you happy and make bread. It's beautiful.
That sounds great. Also, let me just put this in your head. The holidays are coming up, and I think these are going to be very important for people. And so any way that we can teach people to celebrate with food, right? Whatever traditions that you have going on in Italy that you want to teach us here in the U.S. Actually, 50% of the people that follow me on Instagram are actually not even in the U.S., and probably 20% of the people that take our classes are in other countries as well. So we're looking to spread American and Italian love, throughout the whole planet. So, if you, besides pizza and bread, anything you want to teach us this year about traditional Italian pastry or breads or sweet bread, anything at all, we're open to.
Yeah, why not? Let's do it. Yeah. Let me think a little bit, but I'll let you know.
Put your big thinking cap on, your big head, Stefano, and let's talk in the next few days.
Okay.
Thank you,
so
sir.
much.
So nice to have you.
Thank you, Justin. Thank you for everybody that spent some time with us, and
Absolutely.
I appreciate it.
Beautiful. Thank you, Stefano. See you soon.
We'll be in touch, bud.
Bye.
Beautiful. Thank you. Stefano, look at that. It worked pretty good, Justin, right? That guy.
I know. He says he wasn't that good with the computers, but I don't buy it.
He's faking it.
Yeah,
he's faking it. He's lowering the bar. It's the Italian way.
Oh, there you go. That's what I did. That's why I tell my wife, I just keep the expectations really low, and then I never disappoint anyone.
So cool.
I just want to take this time to thank Stefano and Claudio and Chester for being here with us. I'm just really excited about these next couple months and bringing these other classes to people. So I just want to say thank you guys for spending a little QT with us.
Absolutely.
Quality.
Thank you, everybody. Nice to see you all out there.
Dorking.
Thanks for hanging with us. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. I'm going to enjoy the rest of mine, Justin. How about you?
I know. It's bloody time, buddy.
Yes, sir. Yes, it is.
With love to everybody, go break bread with people that you give a shit about. Thank you, everybody. We'll see you soon. Check us out at Slow Rise Pizza. All right, guys.
Yes, sir.